And
You
it's still some
know,
things I don't like.
I don't think you hear me, but you tell
Pizza.
me,
I'm
pizza.
with you.
Well, greetings, good evening, good morning, wherever, whenever, however you all are. It is a pleasure to see so many faces here early and right away for the 94th episode of the Comic Shop Show. Absolutely awesome and nice to see you guys. I've missed a lot of you. I only did one Midnight's Edge stream this week. I've had a really busy week, so glad to have you all here. Toxic Tuesday will resume next week, and it'll be business as usual with Reservoir Dogs, as was originally planned for this week. So I appreciate all the patience, but I'm happy to have you all here tonight so we can get this show moving. So, anyways, how you doing, Vince Womack, Po Baby 74, Gonzalo Bergali, Keely Chow, Dave Bob, hello, Pat S, D Bud Martin, huge. Yeah, I'm checking the sound. Should be rounding out, probably because I haven't used this mic much. Usually with StreamYard, the sound needs to level out a bit, but I checked my settings and it just needs to level out. And eventually it will come to its senses. But I appreciate the lookout, Dave Bob. I know you're stopping by before Loki stream. I appreciate that. How you doing? Zekarat 315, my guy, 5 picoseconds. How you doing as well? All right. We all know why we're here. There's no secret on that. That's just it's so obvious. I mean, Adam Warlock, Jim Starlin run. I don't want to say infamous, but it's not that famous. But I guess you could say it's famous amongst diehard fans. And this was something that I was a bit of a late bloomer myself, even admittedly. What's up, Shawnee Step? How you doing, man? Nice to see you here. And when I finally got around to it last year, I probably couldn't shut up about it for several months. It's not that I couldn't. I just really ultimately just didn't want to. I really didn't. And to be fair, could you blame me? I fell in love. I was hooked. I was just like so moved by it. I wouldn't stop talking about it. And I've got a guy who's joining us as a guest tonight. He's been asking when we gonna cover. We're gonna cover this. So we got two veterans of the story versus some guys who are coming into this either within the last few days or even the last year or two. So we got a lot of great perspectives on the panel tonight. Let's bring some of our guys right now. We'll start off with the guy who's been on here every single episode of this show.
Howdy ho!
Hey, what's up, brother?
What's up, Pablo? Good to see you, my friend.
Oh, what a week, man. I'm actually really happy to be able to just chill and talk about Adam Warlock. Even though I will say this week I have found some comforts that are really good for me.
Mm-hmm.
The Bowser musical video that
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo released, that has been a pick me up. And now the trailer for Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, uh, have seen it. uh, I have lost the count. I was on 10 a long while ago, so I don't even know how many times, but it's at least over the 20 or so.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm loving it. I just, if I could, I would pre order the game again. I would
Oh,
have a
good.
second
Hey,
pre order.
as you should, man. As you should.
Dude, that trailer is incredible. But yeah, that has been a huge pick me up because, well, even last night I was working on videos up to 6 a.m. Today,
Mm-hmm.
so I might drop early because I am sleepy. But goddamn, talking about
Okay.
Warlock, it's
Okay.
gonna be
Oh,
worth
if
it.
you when you gotta go, man, you know what to do. Just say the word. You know what you gotta do, man. You've been on here. You know the drill. You know how it goes. Okay. Okay.
Oh yeah.
But great to have you here, though. All right, Pablo. All right, always a pleasure. And what's up, Just Joe 47? All right, let's bring in the clobberer himself.
It's Clobber and what's up, Pablo and Nico?
Hello,
Good to see you,
sir.
both of you.
Good to see
Yo.
you.
Hey, brothers, good to see you, my friends. Great to be here. Looking forward to it. And hello, fantastic folks in the chat. Hey, Jobber, I see you there, buddy. Good to see you all. Sean, man, look at all these great people who are here.
I
Excellent.
love it. I love it. That's you got a lot of people who are excited to either hear about this run that they grew up with, or like our friend Vince Womack says, who doesn't really know too much about it. This is the best of both worlds, and we're gonna have fun talking about the next 3 episodes. For those who are keeping score at home, tonight we are talking Strange Tales issues 178 through 181. Those are
Yowzer.
4 issues we're talking about tonight from Strange Tales for those keeping score at home. And what's up, Fat Elvis? I see you there in the chat. But yeah, those are 4 issues. Clobby, glad to have you. I'm glad
to be here.
Back on here, hang out with you guys, and enjoying this. Good talk about this legendary run. So good to have you, sir. And
Thank you.
get our
Thanks
other
for having
guys in here. Oh, as always. And then of course, the Iron Caster, who, by the way, gets the credits for all these thumbnails and wonderful ideas. How you doing, Iron Caster?
Nick, I think we should say it like this: Iron Caster. Wah, wah, wah. Sorry, go ahead.
Iron Caster.
Go ahead.
No. I want to hear like Stan Lee say it, like it's a comic book. Of course he created.
Yes, it's Iron Caster. I remember when I created him and said, "Go forth, son, and cast some iron."
Yep, pretty much.
My daddy was Tony Stark. No, this
Okay.
kind of the editing floor.
Yeah, I was about to come with the really nerdy stuff. Going, is titanium and gold alloy is not really iron, so yeah, you should do a paternity test.
How you doing, Massgrave? Nice to see you here. My mom has a strange tale. So how you doing, Caster?
It's been a long week. I'm happy to be here. I too have been doing a little bit of like excitement prep work for my Zelda for some Zelda next month.
Mm-hmm.
But instead I chose to play Hyrule Warriors.
Interesting choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like so much of that game to play through.
I play it on the Wii U. If we are talking about the first Hyrule Warriors, right? Not Age of Calamity.
I think it's the like definitive edition they put out on the Switch.
Oh, okay. So but I'm missing all the extra content because they locked out that content from the Wii U and they just released it on the Switch. So yeah.
Right, and I think there was also some stuff with the 3DS.
There's some DLC on the 3DS that actually is from Majora's Mask and other stuff, but it's on the Switch. So yeah, but it's a good game. It's really fun.
Oh, yeah.
Stupid fun.
Yeah. Well, as fine as it is, the one game I really want back, and I wish they would make a new one for is Dynasty, the Dynasty Warriors Gundam. Like, I wish they would make a new one of those. Favorite of those games. I just want to have some big stompy robots. Is that too much to ask for? I think, come on, all in our heart of hearts, we all just want a robot to stomp on things.
You know what? They should do something with Son of the Enders. Son of the Ender Warriors. Those are really cool robots. Yeah, but gaming talk.
Stunt Brat, hey.
All right. And yes, hello, Stunt Brat 777. How are you doing? Hopefully you're having a good Friday night as well. Thank you for being here. We got another gentleman here, and if my memory is correct, I think this is his first time on here ever. Someone I've been wanting to have on here, someone who I know has been also wanting for us to talk about this specific story, and he's obviously quite a guru of comic books, more than me too, and definitely is far more than me. But I love hearing his voice, love hearing his input. I always love hearing his feedback and what he thinks, and he's got such an incredible eye for how he sees the perspective of comic books and the medium and as a whole. So I'm very, very excited to have our very own wonderful one from the chat, Mr. Hungry Boy himself. How are you, sir?
I am feeling honored and privileged to be here about a
Oh,
comic.
dude, believe me, the honor privilege is all mine. Before you continue, the honor privilege is all mine. But carry on.
And mine too.
Dude, you guys are too kind. But we were at Clavi will know what I mean. When I say we, I mean the people with a lot of gray in the beard. We were honored and privileged to be allowed to have this comic book run when we were young, because especially when you look at the comic books today, this is everything people should aspire to. This is something that can be a litmus test and a crash course and a master class in how to make good comic books happen. All praise to Jim Starlin, raising an arm in an ancient Roman soldier salute to Jim Starlin.
Yeah.
I hear that loud and freaking
There you go.
clear, my dude. And you know what? That's a good time to give a good segue to Jim Starlin, because, man, I'm trying to imagine now my life with, like, you know, as far as comic book life goes without this, and I'm so glad it can't be undone, because my life, my comic book life is so much better having read the story. Now that I'm on my reread of it, I'm still reveling in the greatness of it, even on my reread. So, since you mentioned Hungry Boy, let's give a nice, resounding, loud, heartfelt cheers to Mr. Starlin himself for this wonderful piece of comic book spectacle greatness. This one's to you, Mr. Starlin.
Starlin.
Thank you. Cheers, beers, salutations.
Slancha, Starlin.
Mm. Ah.
Indeed.
Oh, that's good. Oh,
That's good
We're
water.
drinking
that
Starlin
was
juice tonight.
that was Maker's Mark right there too. I did a splash of Coke, but I'm like, did I do a splash of Coke? I don't know. I think I actually should have done more Coke on that one. But woo! All right. Yes, that's right. Strange Tales. That is going to be our starting off issue, and we're going to let people know with the banner, because why not? Oh, hold up.
So I think we should call this for the next couple weeks Strange Tales of the Comic Shop.
Nice.
This week will be
Ooh.
this week it'll be Strange Tales, and it's going to go back into the Warlock title,
Oh, right.
Yes.
because it basically Warlock title had ended with issue, what was it? I believe it was issue 8. The Power of Warlock title around like 71 or 2ish or 72ish, somewhere up in there, maybe 73, and then was gone for a while until issue number 9 came out in like late 74 or 75, something like that. So it was actually, that's why they put it in Strange Tales, because Strange Tales, of course, was a book they were using for tryout stuff, different things like that, sometimes reprints, it was basically a tryout book, like Marvel Premiere would be later and stuff like that. And Marvel Premiere actually was for Warlock one time. It was a tryout book, so it was for Strange Tales was for Warlock to be brought back with the Starlin run into these 4. Yeah, that's why it's 178 through 181. After that, they picked up his old title with number 9. And actually, so, and Strange Tales, by the way, it was a tryout book, and it was bi-monthly at this point.
So it was what, every 2 weeks, or are we talking
every 2 months?
Okay.
Yeah. In this
Very
case,
hard 2 months to
it
wait.
was
Very difficult.
at the end of December of 74, this one came out.
December 74 is when this one started. Good. We need that historian
In the 74
perspective. Okay.
up in there.
All right.
It's cover dated. It's cover dated February 75, so that would put it like December 74, something like that.
Okay. Cool. Awesome.
I know, useless information. Sorry.
No, dude, Don't you
Really
you go there,
useful
my guy.
information.
This is useful, like Pablo said. We're going all the way with that.
It was
So
pretty amazing because Starlin was, I mean, he floated around doing some work here and there, but no regular series. It basically, Roy Thomas, who had kind of refined the character a little bit after his first, I went back and did a deep dive on the stuff before, like his first two appearances. Jack Kirby created him. He was in Fantastic Four, then he was in Thor, the character of him, and then in his short run in Marvel Premiere, then the Power of Warlock series. Which had Roy Thomas, great Gil Kane issues, things like that, and stuff. A really well drawn comic taking place on Counter Earth. So he has a little bit of a background before this. Then I guess Jim Starlin came along. He had this idea with him and Roy, and actually Roy had nothing to do with this when it was Lynn Wein, I think, editing it. But somehow they gave him a shot. They gave it a tryout book, and I mean that beautiful art in those early issues. I guess really, it got the series brought back. So yeah, we got his series back, and that didn't happen often.
And to back Clubby up there, luckily I was able to talk and be a bit of a pal with Len Wein when he was alive, and I brought up, I was on a panel. I was on a panel with Len. Actually, we were.
Whoa, dude, he was like the editor at this time too, and all that.
Well, not at this time. This was I was
not this time
in the 90s, and it was about mythology in comic books, and one of the things we had brought up was the Starlin Warlock series, which created its own mythology and a really good one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Len said, when Jim, meaning Mr. Starlin, was discussing the idea, Len was 100% on board because Len loved that kind of stuff.
And then Wolfman took over after Wayne, but they were so joined at the hip that they were good friends anyway. So Marv Wolfman actually took over not too long after Lynn left it, but they were both editors and both young editors.
Yes.
And doing a lot of stuff. Yeah. So anyway, go ahead.
I just realized where I made my mistake, and I blame myself because I knew at some periods of time, Wolfman and Perez were editing Teen Titans, and at some point in time, Len was involved too. So I'm mistaking my editing and my names and my timeline. So that I just realized my own mistake. So, anyways, let's carry on with Strange Tales number 178. You know what? I'm gonna let Clobby and Hungry Boy lead off at this 2 issue, and just talk about it. Go all in, guys, while you're chatting.
Well, I think you read a big hardcover on this, Nick. Is what you got, the hardcover that takes.
I do,
which is a very nice, by the way, thing that covers the whole. I love these things when they just make sure you get to read the whole story and stuff. And this comic was Strange Tales 178. It was, again, like I said, December of 1974, and it was Jim Starlin was given a chance to.
Yep. Right there, Len Wein, editor. I guess I wasn't, or at least for some issues.
He edited this issue, then the Marvel. See, Marvel. I mean, Strange Tales was his baby, but when it moved to the Warlock series, Wolfman took over. But
that's where I got mixed up. Okay,
but they were best buddies. No. So you're right. Yeah, you're fine. It's just that Len Wein edited for when it was Marvel Premiere. I mean, excuse me, when it was Strange Tales. Sorry. So anyway, the series, it was a bi-monthly book. It was a tryout book. What basically means is they would, put things in there, sometimes reprints, but just to keep that title going, they would just try out different characters. Just much like Marvel Premiere was at one point, or they were just switching. There was a time for the longest time it had the Thing and the Thing and Human Torch in there, and then Doctor Strange and all this kind of stuff. So it was it was used for a lot of different characters, and they gave a 4-issue tryout bi-monthly for Starlin. That gave the book a lot of time to breathe, and it just caught on. This unbelievable art, this beautiful art. Now, again, at this point, he inked and colored it. And he wrote, inked, and colored it. He was a Fantastic Four on that. Now, after a couple of issues, he started having to have some help with the inks and different things like that. But so basically, this comic does a nice job. You can get the trade, or you can get them, however you read this. Starlin does a nice job of giving you some border side recap of what went before in Adam Warlock's life. So that'll help you, that's all you need if you just want to know where he comes from get-go. So you can jump into this thing very easily if you get the trade or you get the omnibus. And or I don't care if you bought the back issue, same deal. They tell you what you need to know that went on before in Fantastic Four 66 and 67. His first appearance, Thor 165 and 166, and then Marvel Premiere 1 and 2, Warlock 1 through 8, and then Hulk 176 and 1 through 78. And 178, and it tells you everything that happened in there, and then boom, you're good to go with great Starlin art telling you on, in the margins. And this comic just starts out right away. One thing I love about it is it starts out right away explaining who the Magus is, and I won't go into that. I'll let Hungry Boy talk about that a little bit. But in my opinion, because he gets to ink himself here, because a lot of times Hungry Boy can tell you about all this stuff, deadlines and stuff, where you have to pass down your pencils to inkers and whatever. This is a chance where he got to be pure. He got to ink and even color his own stuff. So this Marvel Premiere, the first couple of issues, 178 and 179, are some of the most beautiful looking comics I've ever seen in my life. Now I'll pass it on to my buddy Hungry Boy.
Well, first off, that was a fantastic intro, Captain. So thank you very much. And some of what I'm going to say is just going to be backing up and, as Funky Flashman would say, embellishing the pencils of what you already said. And Clobby knows who I mean by the Flashman.
Oh, yeah. Of course I do.
But yeah, to somebody who wanted to break into comics, this actually really pushed somebody who is like spending 2 hours in transit to get this comic. It was so good when I was a kid, and to go to the inking comment that Clobby made. I sometimes, on rare occasions, there are pencilers who ink themselves best, and here's a joke for Clobby, because they saw what happened to Kirby with Coletta in Thor.
Oh boy.
And so they would train themselves to be as good inkers as they were pencilers. And Starlin, like Cockrum, was one of these people. So when I was looking at these issues, when I was barely old enough to need underarm and to deodorant, okay? Just starting out my puberty. Yeah, you get the joke. You get the joke. You're like, oh my God, my parents are complaining about me being stinky. This has never happened before. But Cockrum was really one of my top 3 at that point. And this, like the standard for a penciler inking themselves was Cockrum in the Legion, and this was as good as Cockrum inking himself. And there is a dedication to line work. There's a dedication to shadow weight versus a bright light. And then there's all this other stuff going on from this issue onward, where Starlin was one of the few people to use what I refer to as comic book special effects. And the other people who did that was Tom Palmer, particularly inking Neil Adams, and the Terry Austin, who was inking people even before he was inking Byrne, but they started using Zipatone and certain pattern backgrounds and certain other things. And that trend was actually started by Jim Steranko in the late 60s. And this, with the trippiness of the art, but still telling the story properly, was almost like the Allosaurus giving way in terms of evolution to the Tyrannosaurus Rex, in terms of being able to be trippy art and mind-bending art, but holding on to the story and keeping the reader versus losing the reader.
I like the way he has the characters on the side, and then he shows the panels like onto the other side of it. I see that, I'm like, damn, that is really cool to see. Like you have a big, epic looking creature to the left, and then you got the panels to the right. I love that layout a lot. As someone who's only been reading this type of stuff for 15 months now, something like that, I love this layout. This is such a cool layout with the way this is done. Big old space creature. It fits the cosmic setting, if you will.
Yes. Well, Starlin always liked the cosmic and always moved towards that. So he was very lucky compared to a lot of freelancers and contracted players, where he almost immediately got to do what he was best at, and that really shows in the work. His love of this material comes through in not just every page, but every single panel. And I think Clobby would agree with that.
Oh yeah. Oh, God, he loved the cosmic epic. He certainly went back to it a lot. He redid this story like 5 times later.
Wow.
Dreadstar was pretty much the same thing. And same
Oh,
exact story.
I
I love
believe
Red
it.
Star. I'm just saying it was pretty much the same story.
So
Yeah,
welcome
there's
to the comic shop, Toy Gaines. I've not seen you before. Welcome. Go ahead, Caster.
I'll say there's definitely that 1950s aesthetic of like the sort of atomic influence that you saw from Hollywood playing into this with the cosmic elements. One of the full page shots in this, for example, is just like a movie poster with Adam Warlock in this big heroic pose, and the woman with no name is sprawled out at his feet, just like desperately and like help me, as he's like surrounded by all these monsters. It works on that very appealing level with the art.
Yeah.
I can't. There we are. Yes, this is the one.
Yeah,
This
but
is
they
such
keep
a great page.
Great
they
point
keep
there.
that sensation from the cover. If you see, the cover is really heavy metal, and all the pages just follow exactly the same line. So basically, what you see in the cover is what you get in every single page.
Mhm.
Oh,
That's
speaking
true.
of Toxic Tuesdays, I don't mean to interrupt, Pablo, but I know you're going to agree with this, and Nick will agree with this, and I know Clobby will, but he'll have to be polite about it. You know the whole Toxic Tuesdays thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So let me just say about Starlin. We had the Frazetta Girl, the Bakshi Babe, and we had the Starlin Stone Foxes.
Hmm.
That's true. We got some toxicity with the Starlin man. Starlin man knows how to deliver the toxic goods. He does. He
He's
really,
not
really
afraid of the
does.
curves, dude. He's not afraid of the curves.
No.
No, he brings the curves and then some. He really does.
And the sexy disco hair, man. This is the disco era.
Yes.
No.
Oh,
Yeah,
dude,
man.
he likes his perm. This is pre-perm, but like there's perms, but they are getting more prominent. But you can see like he was starting to really spice up on them. The early stages
Right.
of spicing up on perms was getting there before they went full perm for everybody. And I mean dude, the Magus has a perm. The Magus has a perm.
Megas has the ultimate perm, dude. It looks like he could break. It looks like he could break a 1966 American baseball bat on that perm.
You wouldn't even feel it.
They
Bobby, I just got that link, and I thank you for that.
That's the
We are
hardcover
going
you
to use
have.
that. No,
That's the
thank
book
you.
you have.
Thank
That's
you.
the link
Thank you.
to-
Thank you.
right. That's the book. The book
Thank
link to
you.
the book you have there, Nick. So
Thank you.
you can really tell that Starlin studied.
Oh, look,
Starlin studied Kirby. He studied Eisner and all those guys. I mean, with his panel arrangement and things like that, it's just unreal.
All right, before we carry on, our guy Jason Sandberg, who was just on here,
Hey,
promoting
Jason.
his comic book Jupiter, which I can't wait for $2, said Starlin was master at the recaps. Holy shit, you
Yeah.
are not kidding with that. And you know what's funny? He told
Well-
all this information within like a page, and you were up to speed. It was that
Yeah.
whole thing that brought back to when I would listen to what Chuck Dixon said a few weeks ago on the Real BBC. Right, every comic as if it's someone's first comic, and Starlin was a master at that because you could read those recaps even if you somehow miss a previous issue. It's almost like he knew people can't get every issue.
I'm thinking
so he
Lynn
made
Wein
sure he
did
had
that.
them covered.
I'm thinking that was Lynn Wein and the editorial's idea, probably.
Well, I love
Because
that idea.
It was bi-monthly, and there were they had they never by distribution back then, especially on a book like that, you never know. So you want to be able people to pick that up, and if it's the first one they saw, they can find out what's going on. They might not be as lost, and that's a lot of editorial. I'm not saying Starlin didn't everything. Obviously, Starlin did a brilliant job of it, but that's editors. Were kind of canny for that sort of thing. I don't know if HB agrees with that or not.
Oh, I 100% agree because I was up until about 86. I was the biggest Starlin fan. I don't want to go into why there was a drop off in that in 86, but he also did work before he broke into Marvel. He did work previous to that, and there was a very clear influence of Len being the older, wiser hand in the mix. And we have to point out, Len, when he was 16 years old, was writing fan letters into Marvel and DC. Okay, so Len was a lifer from the time he was a teenager, at least, if not a kid. And so Len would understand. It's like, hey, Jim, it's been 2 months since anyone knew what the hell was going on with this character. We need to bring him up to speed. And the good thing about Starlin, to back up what Klobby's saying, is and this is something Klobby knows sticks in my craw about modern comics, the decompression of comic book storytelling, where they have 6 pages and turns it into 6 bloody issues.
Oh, dude.
You know what I
No.
mean, Klobby knows what I mean.
Oh, it's
You know,
ridiculous.
It's because of the way the formatting it like has destroyed a lot of comics. And I'm not saying like it's bad for every single comic book, but you could read a single issue of any of these books, whether it was a better one or a not as good one from this time, and so much happened just
Yeah.
within a few pages. Now you're lucky if you have issues where something happens every 2 to 3 issues, sometimes a whole 6 issues worth, aka right for the trade.
yeah.
And it
But Nick, it's so
Man.
important. We get in that storyline about them eating at the burger diner.
I don't. This is that is exactly what I'm talking about. Whereas you have Starlin in these pages that we're just talking about, he starts out with a conservative but still artistic layout to entice us, but bring us in, and so we know everything we need to know to carry on and enjoy the story.
Great
Okay.
storytelling.
But in 6 pages, we have issues and issues and issues of comic book storyline compressed instead of decompressed into these pages. And it's nice to see somebody show respect to the work of other people who came before, like Kirby and Kane, without ripping them off. He's showing respect, but he's not ripping off. And I think Klobby would agree with that too.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
it's all about balance. You can do
Yeah.
both. You can acknowledge what happened while still adding your own little spice. It's like saying, "Hey, I'm gonna make this pizza, but I'm gonna try adding this extra ingredient. It's not too far from the recipe of pizza. It still respects what makes pizza: cheese, sauce, and bread. But maybe if I just dabble a little garlic there, that should happen. All he's doing is, he's adding a little extra flavor. He's just adding to it. He's not disrespecting the flavor. He's not trying to put anchovies on it. He's still making sure it's a respectable pizza."
He's not adding clams to pizza.
Yes. Yes, Mark D. Is Mark D here?
Is Mark D with the C here?
I don't know.
I
would
love Mark.
for it to be here.
This is an in joke for the clobbering crowd, okay? Forget the pineapple on pizza debate. It's really coming down to clams or no clams.
Dude, no. That whole pineapple debate is nothing more than a distraction. It's just basically the whole CNN, this is what the news is trying to distract you from the real argument. It's nothing more than a distraction. That's all pineapple is. It's a distraction argument. Don't pay attention to it. Just let it do its thing. Focus on the real war.
Well, that's going to be the next Jason Bourne book, The Pineapple Distraction.
Oh man! All right. Anyways, back to comic books. Even though I guess I'm gonna toot my own horn here and believe that my analogy made a lot of sense. But we'll carry on with this great comic. Okay.
No. Your analogy is canon now. There's a comic book.
I'll take it. Good. That's the biggest honor for it to be canon. That's what I want. Oh man. Pablo, do you have anything you want to add to this fantastic issue before we go on to the tragedy of this issue? Or do you want to be the one that adds to the tragedy of this issue?
Dude, I'm just in love with the paneling, the way that everything is structured. I'm sad that I'm reading it on my PC, so I'm having to read it on a screen. Because the format is actually for you to read from top to bottom in a lot of the pages. And that's a style that I find really comfortable because of manga, because there's a lot of mangas that does exactly that. And I don't know if they copied the style or it was something that was regularly done on that era, but it works. It works really well when you have to do some crazy shenanigans, and at least first issue and second issue, You have a lot of that, so I love it. I love the way that this is structured, and the art is just fantastic. So, and for the tragedy, well, the tragedy is something that I wanted to talk about when we were reading uh, Infinity Gauntlet, but I didn't want to spoil what is going on. Uh, well,
I was
no, is
talking about the girl he couldn't save tragedy. We may have two different tragedies on our
oh,
mind. I'm talking about the fact that the first issue you're introduced to, and you see him take a loss
okay.
right away, despite how incredibly impressive he is right off the bat. You still see him have a little bit of a shortcoming.
Yeah, but he is even holding up. He is avoiding using his real power because he is losing control over the stone. So basically, he's just being him without
Mm-hmm.
the warlock persona and trying to survive just by that. And obviously, it's not working because well, he cannot defend somebody from an attack that is completely out of his reach. Is something that happens in a split second that with the power of a god, yeah, he can bend that reality and stop it. But if he's holding, no, that death is in his consciousness because he didn't want to go overboard, but also he know he could have. That is the sad part about that death. He knows he could have saved her, and that's why he has to bring her back. That is also terrible.
Oh yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
know, one of the interesting things with this book is all of the sort of grandeur it builds upon itself. How there is a very sort of biblical sense to this book. I mean,
Yeah.
his name is
Agreed.
Adam. We start out we're seeing not necessarily the introduction, but we're seeing, for the sake of this book, the counter Earth, this Garden of Eden brought up, its own snake brought in and introducing that the concept of sin. This is it's a book that really gets into into a bit of a higher level kind of thinking for
No, I know
first.
what you mean. Can I just add to build on your point, Ironcaster? The whole thing becomes a time loop because of the sin of hubris, where the Magus is the archetype of hubris and thinking that one knows better than the system, the metaphysical system that is in play. And then, can you, it's almost a question of predetermined destiny versus free will, which is an old Christian argument.
Yeah. One
Yeah,
thing you gotta go ahead. Go ahead.
there's also the part that well, Warlock can see beyond a lot of stuff, so he knows partially, at least partially, what's going on. That's why he understands who is Magus in a second,
Mhm.
because well, internally he knows, he understands everything. He is just trying to play it in a way that I don't know is less discomforting. But if you see his reactions to everything, well, he basically knows the Magus because he knows is that part of him that has been projected a long time. Uh,
Mhm.
so yeah,
I
is
I like how he's basically he's when you if you go back, he's basically battling his own demons. Like he's actually battling his own demons, and that's like, damn. So as he's fighting, he's dealing with his own no personal BS. He's literally fighting him because usually that's like a figurative thing, but here in this book, you see him actually doing that. I'm like, man, that's heavy and that's cool. And it does a whole twist on the evil version of you. It's a really
Yeah.
nice way of handling that story because obviously it's a trope, and I'm sure it was at that point in time, but the way it was played out really made it stand out. And I really respect how that was executed. And you see the whole mirror shattering. What a powerful way to start off this part of this strange tale story to leading Starlin into this. This is a very strong start. You see right out the bat A girl died. He had to do some things he shouldn't really have to do to get information. He's also learning that he's got a uphill battle like there's no freaking tomorrow. You want to talk about getting the stage set and hitting the ground running? So much happened in this 22 pages.
Yeah.
So much happened. It's awesome. I love it. You feel it, and I feel like all the words matter. The stakes feel high. It feels like almost like it's like I'm reading an action movie in a way. It's great, like a space action movie. I love it.
Well, that's a great point, Nick, because if we were to translate, this is like the science fiction movie they couldn't make because we didn't have the science fiction and the budget for these movies back then. Like if we'd had CGI, if we'd had all the prosthetic effects, if we'd had all the money to throw at it, this is what we would have wanted on television and on the big screen for sci-fi movies mixed with a little bit of metaphysics at the time.
Nah, dude, for real. I'm with you there. And especially with like the 70s and 80s, they had a really good hang on the practical effects, especially with space stuff. I feel like they could have actually pulled off most of this, at the very minimum, most of it. I can't say all of it because there's some things you can't do, like making a guy jump off a building, spinning webs. But a lot of the space stuff could have been done and still made to look believable way back when. I totally could have seen that. And I'll bet you many of the looks of these characters would have aged for the most part very well. I know that's a very cocky statement to add, but I truly believe that because of we've seen results with the way space movies were handled back then. And a lot of it you could put on now and it still for the most part looks good. Yeah, you could tell a few things definitely have some age to it, but more of it looks better than the parts that don't. And ultimately, that's great. And on top of it, it's backed by a great story of substance, which, you can forgive it when there's a great story. And obviously, Warlock is just freaking, it's like fetishizing on a great story. Fetishizing.
That's a really good point, which leads into an artistic observation. But before that, I would like to point out in agreement. I'd like to agree with something that you have said, and I'll paraphrase sort of over and over again that has been on this channel and Klobby's channel, is something that is lacking in current day storytelling is the notion that a macho, good-looking heterosexual man can have redemption even if they do something wrong. And
this is the beauty of writing a character.
Yeah,
is even despite all that power, they still have issues like that they still can't do, and you see them overcome that adversity. Because even characters that are basically like a god, they can have their mess ups too. They're not exempt from it.
Yeah, and Adam Warlock learns from that, and you can see that on Infinity Gauntlet at the end. He knows that the power that he's holding of the Infinity Gems is too much. Is too much for anybody, no matter what, because that level of power loses control easily. It's not that you are weak; it's that the power is too strong. So he dreads having that level of power, and during these issues, we know that. Well, he has experience with that because he's losing control. He's actually becoming the soul gem. So he understands the level of madness that the gems brings you.
Great point. And the thing is, we see that I don't want to bring up time loops because otherwise Captain Finity is going to show up. But the situation, that's an in-joke for the Clobberers. And also my good friend Captain Finity, previously known as Captain Cockney. But one of the situations is the Magus had everything. The Magus owned it all. So Adam Warlock, as the pre-Magus or Magus, could have just given in and had the ultimate life of hedonism and, as Nick said, fetishization. Because let's talk about that green fishnet suit and great black hair on Gamora for a second.
Yeah,
we're not far from there. We're not far from it.
We are 2 issues away.
At 180, yeah, it's at 180. But don't worry, let's cross that bridge when we get there. Because when we cross it, we will go all the way with it.
I'm fine. I'm there. I'm there to the end.
So, okay,
But
we're
I went for the
transitioning
boss.
over to issue 179. And before we talk about this issue, once again, I'll just repeat my points. Hit the ground running. Great way to introduce what's going on. Many things are happening, but you still understand it all. So it's successful if you're obviously seasoned, but if you're someone who's jumping in, you get to have the gist of everything and still be locked and loaded, all in, all guns blazing. Great start to the run. What you guys, Hungry Boy, your quick final thoughts on 178.
Okay, well, this is going to back up what other people have said, including Clauby, including Ironcaster, including Pablo. One of the things, I mean, Starlin, I adore that he wears his heart and his mind and his soul on his sleeve, and it's in his soul that he loves. This is going back to Ironcaster's point, a lot of the classic science fiction, because when you're looking at this particular issue, there are elements, and I hope Clauby will agree, of the 1960s black and white Outer Limits. And you can tell Starlin grew up with that stuff, and he really liked that stuff, and it shows in these pages.
Good point. Oh,
And
Very
the
good
fact that
point.
he's
I love it.
And just like, see, when Joe Stefano was doing those great 1960s Outer Limit stuff, in television, the cinematography and the lighting is the inking over the pencils. And so when Starlin goes into this, he's paying so much loving attention to the inks. They are controlled, but they are still emotional. And sometimes if you get too emotional with the inking, they get sloppy. Sometimes if you get too technical, you lose the passion. He hit that sweet spot right in between.
Well worded, dude. Well freaking worded. I love it. Pablo, final thoughts on 178 before we move on over.
Nah, it's a great issue. One of the gripes that I have, and I will have with every single issue for the rest of the run, is they have too much explaining at the beginning. In the first issue, okay, I get it. Maybe you didn't read the Fantastic Four, you didn't read Thor, and you didn't read Warlock. So there's a lot of ground to cover about his origin and everything. But then on the second issue, you will still have a recap of the recap. And then in the third issue, a recap of the recap of the recap with something of the second issue sprinkled around. And it gets tiresome. So there's 1 or 2 pages on every single issue that I will just jump. And
Good.
the first issue is the only one where I actually read every single line because it's fun just to remember a lot of stuff. But afterward, it
Yeah,
loses its weight.
it is sort of a unfortunate kind of side effect of the of going back to reading some of the older books where we have these trades now where we're able to easily have access to all these issues. I mean, what we're doing here now, for example. But then kind of looking back over them, you do have these sort of it's something that just doesn't really necessarily age as well because while yes, the art is nice and enjoyable, it is a bit redundant for the sort of marathon reading of them all. And that is but the only real complaint I can give. So I kind of agree with Pablo.
But yeah, if you skip a few pages, it becomes perfectly awesome. So
Well, here's the contrast to that, and I do get your point, even though I kind of disagree. But what I like to your point is if you look at a lot of the average American comic book nowadays, they don't have those recaps because it's formatted for the trade where to you have to have all issues, otherwise you don't understand everything. It's once again, it's about the formatting of every issue. Obviously, these issues are interconnected, but you also rank, especially for a story like Strange Tales, a comic book called Strange Tales, that wasn't as accessible as The Amazing Spider-Man. You were lucky to come across these comics or a Moon Knight. And
Yeah.
so you wrote these issues, if this was someone's first comic. So you could always obviously just skip those pages. And back then, too, a lot of these comics were anywhere between 22 to 25 pages. Well, nowadays, the big two standard is 20 pages. Whereas nowadays, modern comics, if they really want to help make their book successful, they can make page 21 or 22. They can make it about the recap and trying to enlighten people instead of writing for the trade. But that's obviously, I guess ultimately we're at an apples and oranges with that. But for me, I think that's a better format.
It's worth pointing out that this is one of the first comics of the 70s to be collected before there were trades much. There was and the early 80s, they did a collection of the Starlin issues in 6 formatted, highly slit paper that were comic book size and formatted in staplebacks, but on very, very slit paper called Warlock the Special Edition, where they reprinted all of this whole run and even added some stuff to the end there, like some additional material to the end. It was just segmented like a regular monthly comic, like 6 issues of it, which was done later. Just so that's how this comic was critically acclaimed, one of the most critically acclaimed comics of the Bronze Age, and yet it never was. This character never had any particular box office success, shall we say, or spinner rack success, shall we say. But this issue was 178, of course, was a stunning, one of the most brilliant comics of that era, and it was a great start to this character. One of the things that's a takeaway for me about Starlin and this in his later work is the guy did not like religion. And what was pretty interesting about this era is, this was it was pretty gutty stuff for the time for them to put this out. This is a comic book that was, in its philosophy, and it was very much like an Outer Limits episode. It was very much like a deep science fiction novel. This comic was this stance. He makes no bones about it that Jim Starlin does not like religion, and he's done that in all of his work. And this comic is out and out, very blatant about it, which I found again of the time pretty interesting. But Marvel had been doing some, whatever else you want to say about them. They were doing a lot of daring stuff just a few years before that. They were doing books where the Black Panther fought the KKK. They were doing a lot of stuff. They were doing anti-drugs issues that skirted the comics code, all kind of stuff. So they were pretty daring, pretty out there, and this was that as well. But it was just a great start, and it was still bi-monthly at this point, remember. And when we get to start this one out, I ask you, Nicholas, if you'd let me introduce the next issue, because it needs to be properly introduced. Whenever you're ready.
Take it away. I'll even go to the page. So you can
make the screen a little bit bigger if you wanted to there. I think there's ways to do it. But I'll go ahead. All right, so we're ready?
Yeah.
All right. This is started becoming characteristic in Marvel Comics of the 70s. The opening at the top of the page of every splash page, it would have a little blurb, and it was this: "Born to Earth's man of the future." Excuse me. What? You can't read your own crap, Stan. Even though you didn't write it. Born to be Earth's man of the future, then forced to abandon his native planet because of it. It wasn't his native planet, by the way. It was Counter Earth. Because of his alien ways. He wanders the stars seeking life, gifted with ultra strength, paranormal reflexes, and perceptions. Perceptions. The power of levitation. It's flying. I hate it when they call it levitation. And the curse of a vampire soul gem. He stands uniquely alone amongst the heavens. Me, I, me, present the power of Warlock. Death Ship. Editor Lynn Wayne. Letterer Tim Orzakowski, not married to Lynn Wayne. Colorist Glynis Oliver Wayne, married, obviously, to Lynn Wayne. And finisher, which means Jim Starlin, the finisher, the pig, wanted to get paid 3 times over. So he was the writer, the penciler, and the artist. My goodness, he's worse than me. At least I got to write the credit box. Now on with it, true believers.
On with it I shall be, because this is a hell of a first page. Once you get into the interiors, this is a hell of a first page. Look at how this layout is incredible. You get the giant planets, all of space, Warlock looking all statuesque, godlike amongst all of this crazy.
I,
It's a visual wonder. Like seriously, it's a visual wonder
Oh yeah, it's
to
beautiful.
look
I
at
want a
this
one
opening
six
page.
statue of this pose of Adam
This was
Warlock.
this was the last one I believe where he did all of the visual chores on it except for the coloring, obviously.
Yeah,
Mhm.
sadly. Can I
Yeah.
add
Oh,
something to Clubby's comment there about the splash page just before we move on?
yeah. Go
When
on.
you look, if you look at the splash page, it's a tribute to some of the stuff that happened in the Fantastic Four in the Negative Zone.
Yeah, it does look
Mhm.
like that. Well, again, the guy was, I mean, incredible.
Hey, Starlin never
Very
had
good
any
point.
problem with Kirby, right?
Oh no, he was a fan like everybody back then. They wanted to be the king, and they were back then. Even then, when King Long Gong, they were all telling him, "Hey, draw like Jack." And they
Yeah.
they didn't mean copy him. They just meant do the things that Jack does.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. All right. Well, let's carry on with our story, gentlemen. Because obviously we have this organization, which obviously, once again, as Claudia mentioned about Starlin's his what's his word here? Hatred.
Consternation with religious practice.
Yeah, but there's
Yeah.
something. There's
I
something
don't
really.
know if I'd go that far, but I'd say I guess you could say extremism of it.
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
he hated. Look,
Because
there's nothing. No,
he
this was a
did
different
mention,
time.
and maybe he did hate, maybe he did even hate less extreme forms of it. But he does. There is mention of the characters how there was good ideas initially. It's just that they went too far.
They
Went
meant
bad.
well.
They're,
The man,
yeah, they
look,
meant
I've
well.
known
So he
wonderful
does
people.
acknowledge that. It's
Well, I've known some nice people, Nick, that just hate religion. It's just nothing. That, I mean,
oh
there's
yeah,
nothing
oh
that means
yeah,
a monster. I mean, this is 50
oh
years
yeah.
ago. Religion back then was seen a little bit differently by the people his age than they are now. So,
Yeah, but
Oh
there's
yeah,
something
absolutely.
really, really interesting here, and that's important to keep in mind. He is anti-religion, but he's not anti-morality. And actually, a lot of what he
no,
discusses in these issues is the value of morality over even the existence of God.
Great
oh
point.
yeah,
So, yeah, the argument is actually really positive. It's just he differentiates between believing in a God and what
Mhm.
people that believe in God think about as just. That actually there's a panel in the next issue, in issue 3, that goes straight into that and is really heavy. But at the same time, Warlock is the perfect character to go through this kind of path, because Warlock is not exactly really a hero.
Mhm.
He is good intended most of the time, but he is lost in a lot of his, I will not say
that's
hatred,
true.
but he can go really far. And he's not a nihilist, because, well, he still believes that he can do good. He can still save people and change the things that are going wrong, even if that takes his life. But he is not taking away all the value from everything. He is attributing that value without the presence of a mightier force, because, well, at his level, he's the mightiest force around most of the time,
Mhm.
unless you have the Watcher or Eternity just appearing. He's god level and nobody can stop him. So from that point of view, morality is still something that matters, and that's what this comic tackles a lot. And what is morality? What point does morality have? So it's really interesting. This comic is really interesting because of
I
that.
agree. Strongly agree. For me, I love this issue because you do see a lot of the morality do kick in, especially when you see many people from different cultures and backgrounds being held against their will due to this fanaticist based cult and the Universal Church of Truth, which is kind of not far in line with woke today. Not to go on that tangent, but I'm
Yeah,
sure
but
everyone will agree with me.
there's something really, really fun about that, because Magus is himself from basically an
The
alternate future.
future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
I
that
like,
means
well,
that there's a
go
part
ahead.
of Warlock that understands the need of religion and the uses of religion, how
Mhm.
real important it can be. And that makes him really interesting even more. Why? because he doesn't believe in religion during his era of Warlock, but something happened that made him believe that religion is necessary.
This
Just
is
it needs to be about him.
this is a great comment by Max Mercer. Says it's easy for Ed Warlock to be anti-religious because he's a superhuman being made by scientists. He doesn't really need for anything. Yeah, he doesn't have
Yeah.
anything to fall back on.
That's the point.
Because he's not taught to teach that. That's not how he was made to be. So that's a really well thought out comment, Max. Really well
Yeah,
thought out
and
comment.
that's his arc with Thor. His arc with Thor is basically he doesn't understand that sometimes what he wants is not what he can have. And well, he goes basically and tries to cuckold Thor, and he gets the other side of the hammer. It was just obvious.
Oh, he does, and I like it because he has this fight with Autolycus, and once again, as I mentioned, you see all these cultures imprisoned against their will. You obviously got this eye hand like a Modoc thing. You got this thing that walks on its feet with the Cyclops eye. You got these creatures with no arms, and they all get tortured by this cult, and you see them all being held, chained up, some even killed against their own will. And Autolycus, they all say, "Hey, we need to come together, fight for our freedom, to come together." And I like the way Warlock handles this because, yeah, he does the right thing as a hero does, but why he does it, I thought was even more impressive. Because he said, "I know I did, so you can help lead your own lives. Learn what went wrong with all these, with all these governments, these religions, whatever's the thing you want to insert there, and don't follow that example. No, be your own man, be your own individual, pursue your own freedom and personal liberty." And I thought that was such a very inspiring thing to see because anyone with morality can relate to that message. It doesn't matter what
Yep.
race you are, what political, what religion. If you have morality to your side, like actual genuine morality, you connect with those words. You connect with that. You feel the emotion of those words. And that's something that really resonated with me so much when I was initially first reading this. Like, wow, this is really powerful stuff. And it really is. Like, it hits home. It really hits home. And somehow, like certain other things, like the Demolition Mans of the world, this comic does. Man, age has definitely done it factors in that regard. And before we carry on, good night to our fellow friend of the channel, Vince Womack. Thank you for being here, sir. Good night. And yeah, one of you guys just take over from me.
No, dude, just think about this. Basically, Adam Warlock is going full libertarian. He's actually studying
totally.
libertarianism directly, but that's the fun part. You can argue that he's going for something more like anarchism, but what
Yeah.
he's doing is going for you have the responsibility over yourself. You need to take
Yes.
control over yourself. Stop believing in government. Yeah, you can say that's anarchism, but then he hits and keeps hammering the responsibilities and the need for them to know the errors of the past. So it becomes a libertarianism, and it ends in something really open about your personal destiny. That's
Well,
deep for a
That
comic.
I mean, that
that you
kind of brings up the idea of free will. However, free will with a moral and ethical
Yes.
responsibility.
Yes.
Well, I mean, one of the things he's kind of hitting on is don't just fall on others to solve your problems. You have to solve your own. I mean, if you the mantle of power, putting all this power within the hands of one person will just continues the cycle of abuse.
But-
Those that are put under thumb who inevitably are overthrown, and then a new person comes up and does the same. Don't put that on me.
It's the endless cycle of humanity, basically.
Yeah. At the same time, you can argue that is basically going at the same level as the Full Metal Alchemist reflection. If you still have your legs, keep walking. There's nothing else you can do. Just keep walking. And it's exactly that. If you can still fight for yourself, do it. Stop waiting for somebody to take control. Stop waiting for somebody to be the savior. Do it. So yeah,
So-
Basically, depend upon
it's good.
yourself and not others.
Yep.
I was just about to say, welcome Fenrir to the show. Why don't you give a little feedback on your thoughts on this incredible issue of Strange Tales number 179, aka part 2 of this Warlock story from Mr. Starlin?
Thanks, man. First of all, I'm kind of pissed off that I got late again. Technically, because I actually had a pretty good explanation that was basically what Pablo there just said. So I have absolutely nothing to contribute to this right now. At
Wait,
the
you
moment.
got late?
God damn.
Hey, don't you got like
About an hour
I
late.
just got action, but I that's why I can't talk about the comic books.
no, I gotta smoke this cigarette, and like I don't think comic books are all that important right now.
Yeah, guys,
Wow.
keep laughing. Keep laughing at my unfortunate.
No, man, I understand. My Japanese teacher used to say that if I'm going to have sex, there's no need for me to go to class. So I understand. That's a good philosophy.
Yeah, don't laugh at Fenrir. Come on.
I won't.
Did you
It
lose
just
Fenrir?
it was definitely not what I expected to hear. But glad
Oh.
to have you here, sir.
How did Fenrir get
I'm-
way over
I'm-
there? Whoa.
He stuck with me. He's just stuck with me. So
Fenrir's one of those far right YouTubers, way over there.
That is true.
Come on, by the way, Fenrir, it's great to actually be on a stream with you after we've had a couple of fun moments on Tweety. Great to see you here. Great to be here with you.
Same here, buddy. Great to be around you. But I will say one thing. I enjoy the story's point of view on, well, humanity. I like how Adam Warlock goes invested on these aspects of the human nature through other species, actually.
Very
Pretty good.
Cavemen.
Very
Cavemen
metaphysical
is a
comic.
great
you
way
see.
to learn off of. Cavemen is a great aspect. As basic as it is, you strip them of all the I guess you could say excess, and you bring them down to their very minimal survival roots, and you really see who they truly are, for better and
Indeed.
most definitely worse.
I love the final panel of this story, man. That moment of realization that there was nothing you could do because the caveman that defeats the evil tyrannical leader just starts smiling. He knows it's his turn to be the tyrannical leader. So
tyrant.
yeah, it keeps going. The hero becomes the oppressor.
And
Yeah.
also, see, there's the storytelling that Pablo's talking about, and then you have to have the artistic talent to back that up. Now, if you go back, notice the difference in the panel layout and the composition within the panels during those caveman scenes, and then we jump back to other stuff. Starlin knows when to do a conservative Ditko layout for a page, and then jump into the more artsy fartsy, for lack of a better term, stuff when we're looking at the modern day. And he was in his sweet spot here for knowing exactly how to lay out a page and know how one layout would lead to another layout in another page, and it was just sublime.
Yes. He was
Agreed.
planning ahead. Every single panel, he was planning ahead.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. And
sir.
before we transition over to Columbia, talk about this issue. How you doing? Quickly, the common nerd.
Well, what's going on, guys? Good to see you. Yeah, sorry, I had we went and saw Nefarious tonight. My wife and I had been planning this for like a month. So
I beat you, dude. This time I beat you. I got here
you
first.
did.
Yeah,
Well, I
Fenrir got
thought
late.
I might
It
have
was-
gotten late, but I got first than you.
it
That's
was.
what matters.
I thought it was supposed to be a 90-minute movie, but after like previews and all that kind of stuff, it turned into a 2-hour venture. So I just got
That's
done
all it
recording.
takes.
Yeah, I just got done. Yeah, I just got done recording my my spoiler-free review as well. So yeah, freaking
good. Well, good
Super.
to have
Still
you
beat
here,
you. That's
bud.
all that
All right.
matters.
Hey,
Yeah,
Right.
good to have you here. All right, Clubby. Let's get on with Strange Tales number 179 with your thoughts and whatever you want to add to the conversation about this issue.
Right up there with 178, it's one of the most beautifully, not only drawn and inked, of course, but laid out comics I've ever seen. In terms of storytelling, it's an absolute masterpiece. I mean, he lays out everything perfectly. This is a very deeply philosophical, metaphysical comic, wouldn't you say, HB? And just in the best of possible ways. I love the way this hippie writes. I'm sorry, he is actually a good writer. I mean, the dialogue, he's verbose in his captioning, but in a good way. Unlike certain writers of that era who were like, you go back now and read them, they're cringe-inducing. Remember, we did that. We did that through with Mr. Wolfman and some of the other guys. Starlin was far better than any of those guys with his writing. He's to this day, that writing holds up extraordinarily well. You can see how certain creators of certain IPs might have been reading certain spacefaring types of comics that had certain cosmic types adventures, like the Fourth World stuff and this stuff in particular. There's a reason why this thing holds up. I like the fact that he introduces us to what pretty much mostly what the Magus is very early on. I note that Doctor Who ripped it off a little over a decade later. In the Trial of a Time Lord. I love Trial of a Time Lord ripped it off. I mean, so much, but that's not here to there. But I just love this. I can never get tired of looking at it. I'm looking at it right now, flipping through it, and it's extraordinary. We get to meet Pip the Troll.
Wait, Clovy, the Baliard.
Baliard?
When does he
Trial of a
appear
Time
the
Lord.
first? Yeah.
In 1984-ish, 5-ish with the second Colin Baker season.
And then we had
this was before.
Oh, this was 10 years, a decade before it. There were not just that. There were a lot of elements of that story and a few other types of things I've seen that borrow heavily from Starlin's Warlock. Well, Starlin, but it's only fair. He ripped his own self off on some of his later comics. He did the same thing. I love Dreadstar, but man, Dreadstar was pretty much this regurgitated in the sense a lot of the same things. And that's not an insult to Dreadstar. It's a great comic.
Can I compliment you there for 1 second, Claudia, and then please
if you
continue?
must.
Please, dude. Sometimes I look at this when I was a kid and a teenager and in my 30s and in my 40s because I reread this stuff every couple of years. A lot of this is like, if we could have had the 1976 Doctor Who with a huge budget and no constraints on costumes for monsters.
Oh yeah. I'd love to see an animated version of this done in this style. It can happen. Fully adapted, by the way. I would love
in
it.
an idealized world,
It could.
This would definitely benefit best from animation rather than live action. That's a good point because
Everything
earlier,
does.
obviously, I was talking the show about how it would benefit from 80s and 70s maybe with space and the way those movies were made back then. But now that you mentioned that, Clubby, I think I'm gonna kind of backtrack slightly just to say you have an even better idea with the animation. A full-on 3 movie long story or 4 movie. This would have been the thing. Especially having this action sequence play out here with him against Autolycus. Dude, I love it. Especially this one, it feels like when the hero and the villain were monologuing to each other, you can feel the weight of the words. As they're battling each other.
But it's very well
written.
written.
A little bit of an admiration between the two, because he knows this is obviously a good fighter, and he still realizes he's doing what needs to be done, and Autolycus is doing because he obviously has someone whom he answers to, whereas Adam Warlock has his reason. So we know who's good and who's bad, but we all know who's definitely far more bad, and he's gonna have to be go, even though he's just nothing more than a very capable servant.
Yes, and you can spend all day on this issue. There's so much to it that it would take us forever to break it all down. Suffice it to say, go out there and read it for yourselves, people. It is some of the most amazing storytelling, cinematic in a lot of ways. This, again, it looks a lot. There's Kirby there.
This.
There's Kirby. There's Ditko. There's Steranko. There's Eisner. It's all over the place. And Hunger Boy he's an actual real artist. I can't draw flies like I always say, but I can tell you this. If you would like to draw comic books and do them well, you do a lot worse than to study, especially this Warlock run, but other stuff by Starlin. There are many people you need to study. This is one of them. And I mean, this comic book right here.
Yes.
Look at the panel arrangement. Look at the detail to each panel. This is a guy who cared about his work because he did get a chance to ink himself. Now, again, back then, it didn't happen often. Pencilers were rushed to do they needed to make a living. They weren't allowed to ink themselves very often. and shit, much less color themselves like he did in the first issue. Oh man, that's incredible. So that's why later on he does not get to ink himself, and it still looks pretty good because his pencils are still pretty. He's got to do a lot of penciling, not just layouts. But this is panel arrangement, big. I mean, it's got it all. The gigantic, big splash pages, small, intricately laid out panels. It's just unreal. The emotion expressed on faces. The storytelling here is one of the greatest things I've ever seen in comics, and I don't think I stress that too much. I think it's
body language, Clubby. Body language.
Yes.
The way he will position an arm exactly 1 inch to the left or 1 inch to the right in order to get the exact right emotional tone for every single panel.
Yes.
Absolutely. This is a masterpiece. Next, I'm sorry, Lyle. But when you get to the next one, Nick, I have a special introduction as well. Just a little info, nothing big.
Oh, I can't even imagine what it would
Nothing
be.
big. No, nothing. Just a little info.
Okay, that's fine. I want to highlight this panel is probably to the very bottom right of this page. For these 4 pages, this is my very favorite one panel. What he says, and it brings it back to what I was saying earlier. When they're asking about why wouldn't you listen, he says, for the same reason, I'll not lead you now. Each of you is a leader within himself.
Very
Fools
individual.
allow others to rule themselves. Wise men rule themselves. Sorry, no. Fools allow others to rule them. Wise men rule themselves.
I love it.
That really, really hit home in so many
It's
ways.
wisdom.
And even
Some
rereading
way.
it still does.
And notice the
Still does.
sinister lighting on his face to counterpoint it, which makes the reader say, okay, I might like what Warlock is saying here, but it is my responsibility to have free will and question it, like Warlock himself, with free will, is questioning everything.
Exactly. It's a great story because it gives the writer the ability to choose what he wants to follow about it. It's basically a story that gives the point. You don't want to have to decide what the story says. You have to decide what it means for you. You have to decide what path will it take you on. This is the kind of story that always make it through history and life.
It's one of these lines I can imagine like Robert E. Howard writing for like Conan the Barbarian.
Yes.
Or more.
Yeah.
It was his philosophy.
Yeah, but this is a philosophy that can go even further. You can go even to Antisthenes, the guy that created cynicism, the original guy that created cynicism. Because, yeah, it's basically that is we cannot trust that the leader will guide us to the best outcome. But we can guide ourselves to the best outcome personally. And if we all do that, maybe we have a general good outcome instead of a lot of shitty ones. So it's a really interesting work of philosophy, man. What can I tell
Really
you? It goes so many levels deep. Just think about we were talking about that fight scene that is really good because you can sense the respect, but it goes even further because the henchman respect Adam Warlock in another level. For him, he's God. He's fighting his God, trying to make him become his God. So it's quite an interesting dynamic. He respect him to that level, but he's still fighting. It's really fun. Really fun.
Common nerd, go ahead and go off on your thoughts on this. Assuming if you had the chance to get to this, your mic is off, buddy.
No, still nothing.
There we go. No, I know.
Hey.
I was moving down to push the button. I'm doing multiple things. So not gonna lie, gonna be completely and totally honest with all of you guys. I was gonna read this this afternoon because I normally like to read them right before we start, so that way it's completely and totally fresh in my mind. And literally, I was in the middle of recording videos, and I got like just stupid, nauseous, sick out of nowhere with like a nasty headache, so I didn't get a chance to read this. But Adam Warlock is an incredible, iconic character. All of these stories are absolutely timeless, which is one of the reasons why we come back and revisit them time and time again. Obviously, the artwork's absolutely gorgeous. You know, I was listening to Klobby earlier talk about like all the Kirby influences that you could see all of these other different artists in it. Like, I mean, it's gorgeous. right? And I mean, that's what got me started coming in and hanging out at the comic shop talk to begin with, even in the chat, was just looking at the artwork, because this is stuff you don't get anymore. We talk about that. I mean, I make videos about that all the time, about how poor quality the modern art is in a lot of these comic books. And it's so nice to be able to revisit some of this older stuff and harken back to when they actually gave a shit about their job and about doing something incredible and something timeless. And yeah, I mean, this space epic opera. Yeah, I mean, this is amazing. You don't never see anything like this these days. So yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous.
No. The bare minimum you get today is just, there are little artists in comics now that can get away by just doing stick figures and letting it on a page. Literally, I'm not even joking. Stick figures are enough for those bastards now.
I have to object to your comments about modern comics not being timeless. Like, what you mean to tell me you don't want to watch NFL? You don't want to go revisit the NFL Super Pro or Barack the Barbarian?
Hey. Let's not no words about the NFL Super Pro. It's an underappreciated masterpiece.
Ironcaster, Squirrel by Eric Henderson is timeless for all the wrong reasons.
Hey, just be glad I didn't bring up the power of pachyderms.
Oh, I believe that, Jason. But I trust me when I say I believe you.
Oh yeah, I cannot.
You don't gotta tell me, man. Trust me. I'm looking at what you're doing.
But if it did, there would be really cool stick figures if they did. We're just saying.
Oh, right. If you actually want to do literal stick figure, I'm sure they'd be badass.
Yeah,
well, we know. Go ahead, Common.
I was just gonna say we should do a comic shop talk over Jupiter when it comes out. Like maybe give it like right. I think that would be dope. I think that would be really dope.
I'll see how I can negotiate.
We will figure something out. Yeah, we will figure something out.
Because
I promise.
It needs to be right around launch because we need to make a lot of momentum for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jupiter needs a lot of push.
Oh, Jupiter's already launched, Bubba.
Already? Okay.
I'll send you the link. I'll send you the link.
Really?
Yeah, he's over $1,500.
Yeah,
he's over $1,500 already. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll send you the link right now, Pablo. And for anyone in the chat, there's almost 20 of you in the chat. I'll send you the link. Jason is $2,500 plus into his goal.
Yeah. Hell yes.
And
congratulations.
He's already doing great. And anything to help him continue to get to 5K, let's get our boy there. Yeah. We're all going to get our comic. We're all going to get our stuff. But if we can all do that, we can also get a sweet, cool collectible card should he hit 5K.
Yeah, and that'll be
either way. I'm excited to get my comic, regardless of whether he gets it or not. I'm just happy to get my comic book. So there's you go, Jason. Shameless plug for you, sir. Thank you for hanging out and supporting the show, whether you're here on the panel or not. And yes, we will review Jupiter on here when it comes on. And yes, we will have Jason back on for that and for the 100th episode. All right, let's get this back on. Hungry Boy. Final thoughts on Strange Tales 179.
Well, I think it is an excellent follow-up to the previous issue, and also equally important, it's leading into the issue we're about to talk about. And so it was clear that Starlin was thinking 3 steps ahead and really just engrossed in the material. And at the same time, being engrossed in the material as a writer, he was not skimping on the art. And all I can say is, I can't wait till we get to Gamora.
We're getting warmer. You be patient, my friend. You be patient. Stand back and stand by. It's gonna be huge. Clubby, your final thoughts on this magnificent issue?
Well, like I said, it's extraordinary. Some of the most amazing art I've ever seen. Very well written. It's a great continuation from the last issue that advances the story brilliantly, and really starting to get it's so well paced that you can't wait. I mean, you got to, because you got to read it flowing through. Then you got to go back and enjoy every page, look at the art and stuff like that. But it tells the story.
That's why I got the hardcover, just so I can admire the art all damn day.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so it's a great it's just a great second issue. And again, it's the last one I think that's with all complete Starlin in terms of all, but still going forward, of course, it's his story and it's his pencils and all that other kind of stuff.
Just tell me, who was doing Gamora?
Doing her? Well,
Who was drawing her? Yeah, maybe
Well,
I
Jim
should
Starlin.
have phrased that better.
Well, it was Starlin. He did all the art. I mean, I'm just saying that later he doesn't do all the inking stuff.
Okay,
no,
so-
it's him.
If every single panel that Gomorrah is in is him, then I'm
Yes, sir.
really glad he had the best part of the comic.
So you're
to
saying you
draw.
wanted her to look like that in the movie?
I
Yeah,
did.
please.
Everybody
Yes,
wanted
please.
that.
I got kicked off of CBR for saying that.
There's so many characters that I
That's a
Dude,
badge of
don't be
honor.
ashamed of that. That's a pride thing.
Hold
Get
on.
that out.
You got kicked off CBR, dude. That's a badge of honor.
Dude, you gotta frame
Damn
that,
right.
like put that on a wall. Like that's incredible.
Seriously, make a tattoo about that. Create a sign and put it on your front lawn.
Dude, if I had something like that happen, that'd be like right here, big frame, nice big poster right there.
Yep.
That's what I'd have
Damn right,
there.
I'd be showing my room to you guys just for that. Hell, I'd risk my own identity coming out.
I'll be
Was
banned by
CBR for
CBR.
saying that before Trump won the election in 2016.
All right,
They
Clubby.
couldn't stand it. They couldn't stand it. Like, you know, basically the bottom line is, and we'll get to it in a moment, okay? No spoilers, but a chick who looks like a Persian sexy assassin in a green fishnet bodysuit with hair that's going down to the small of her back is not a problem in comic books, and that got me booted.
Wow. Wow.
Careful of you.
If
Wow.
they knew
Yeah.
the kind of stuff that Japan gets away with in comics.
Oh, they know. They're
Oh,
trying to
yeah,
put
and
us
they
up
make
with
m-
there.
Yeah, and you know what's beautiful, Paul? Japan makes bank thanks to that. Modern Marvel can't barely make 50 cents by themselves.
The other day I was, you know
Well, to
that
be fair,
70.
though, librarians love to order the books that don't get read.
Yeah, but you
Sure.
know that in manga, 70% of the people that draw manga, the mangakas, are
Oh,
female.
no, they
right?
make shit, I know.
No. That's the thing. I was reading an article about the sexiest mangas that have come out in the past few years. All
Most
of them.
done by women.
Yep.
And that's just so
They
beautiful.
are way more degenerate than men are. On
Good.
the
So
way.
what? Okay.
Weird.
Oh yes,
Let's-
have you read about the creator of Demon Slayer? She has done some things.
Let's
Hell, there are
try
some
to
rumors
get
that
to
she was behind
Gamora.
hentai.
Let's try to get to Gamora, and that way
Yes,
we can
please.
we can have our
Yes.
you know, our toxic thoughts.
Sure.
Let's
Well, that was just a
let's-
conversation
let's
among
start-
gentlemen, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, I know, but we got comics to talk about. And unfortunately, I wish I could say I had all night, but I probably got like an hour and a half left on my end. Not to sound rushful, I hate being. Trust me when I say
Don't worry
I
about that,
hate
man.
being
I
that
understand.
guy. Yeah,
Sure.
but Clubby, your final thoughts on this issue?
I gave you those pretty much. Are we ready to move on whenever you're ready?
All right, Pablo.
No, man, it's just fantastic storytelling, fantastic just art. So I enjoyed the second issue. I will say even more than the first one, to be honest. Just
All right.
because that speech, that's crazy.
Caster?
But that's a really good moment.
I think just to pick something a little bit different from everyone else, I think there's some really cool monster designs in here. Like, you know, some
Oh,
stuff that's really inspired by, like the Gorn is on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Agreed. Heart.
It's definitely a bit of a 1950s Marvel throwback to the monster era.
Right, the Atlas era. The Atlas era with the giant Kirby
Yep.
monsters and all the physical transformation
Yep.
into horrible beast stuff. Right on.
It was
on
like
Nintendo.
watching what was the name of that asshole? But an Alan. What's the name of the guy who made Cthulhu? Edgar Allan Poe. It was like watching one of his horrors, one of his descriptive horrors come to life.
HP Lovecraft?
Yeah, that will be H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, probably.
Lovecraft. God damn it.
Yeah, Pym. Poe will be the narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym. That's the only novel of that kind of horror, and I wish you luck if you want to enjoy the end of that novel.
I never actually got to the end. Never got the time.
The
A lot of
point
stuff
is,
always
there's
came
no
up.
end. If you read the final pages, it's just the guy that was writing this basically forgot what came next, so you can go and ask the main character if you want.
Mm-hmm.
that's the ending of the story. Is Poe was an asshole. People don't remember that, but Edgar Allan Poe was a real asshole.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay, guys.
I've heard a lot of the stories about the guy.
Well, we've gotten to this
I think I
point.
would have enjoyed him very much.
Mhm.
Strange Tales number 180, aka part 3 of the introduction of the Starlin Warlock run spectacle. And, well, you know what? I'm going to let Pablo, because I know Pablo's also still limited on time. I'm gonna let Pablo lead off with this issue.
Can I just start off with
Caster,
one little bit?
You can bounce off of him.
Can I tell you one little bit before you get
Yeah,
started?
yeah. Go.
Please.
I'm sorry. No, just want to say that this just I'm not going to Stanley you, I promise. Just the story. This is a special issue for those who don't know. Jim Starlin took a temporary break from this, and this story was by Sam Giltrin, and the art was by Jim Starlin, and the inks were by Jail Mini Rats. And the color, the colors were by look MS Nat Drill.
Right here.
I know.
Special.
It's anagram, Clavi,
Anagrams. Okay, it's Jim.
Mhm.
Yes, he for some reason Len Wein I guess thought it would funny. The story Sam Giltrin. That's an anagram of Jim Starlin. Jim Starlin is Jim Starlin. Inks is an anagram. JL Mini Rats is Jim Starlin on the inks, and colors are by MS or Miss Nat Drill. So apparently he got to do the coloring on this one as well. So yeah, just now I don't know. I don't know why.
And
But
Al
anyway,
Weiss for inking a few pages, 4 pages of the book right here. Very important note as well.
and then yes, Alan Weiss got a chance to come in and ink 19, 22, and 27 and 31 of the pages. Alan Weiss inked a lot of Starlin stuff. So anyway,
Okay,
okay,
Pablo.
go on from there. Sorry about it, Pablo. Good.
Oh, no worries. I actually enjoyed that. But yeah, in this issue, we finally meet the matriarch and we see exactly what the hell is going on behind the curtain.
Mhm.
And yeah, basically, here is when we are finally revealed that is not a part of Adam Warlock. Before the speculation was he is a part of the Soul Stone that separated because of some shenanigan or something. And no, he is Magus is actually Warlock of the future. So that is interesting. Also, we get one of the craziest kills just because of the way that the enemy dies and the way that death means for Warlock, because he finally understands these zealots that are crazy, that in his mind are just crazy, are actually not crazy. They are doing what they believe is fair.
Oh
It's just
yeah,
that,
they actually have conviction to what they're doing. It's not they're not being mindless dolts. I mean, in a way they actually are, but to them in their head they truly do believe in what they're saying and doing.
yeah, you have all the
Here for
trial,
their
and the trial
cause.
looks like a sham, looks like something that is just to mock Adam. And when
Oh
Adam
yeah, to
finally,
humiliate him,
yeah,
to straight up like let him know like, hey, you have no chance. We're gonna give you the perception that it looks like it all is good and fair, but really the game is so massively rigged that we're gonna fuck you that much harder because of it.
yeah, but then you see that the game being rigged is not about humiliating Warlock. It's about making sure that justice prevails. Uh,
Oh
It's
yeah.
just their point of view of justice is completely different to the one for Adam. But
Mm.
that's the interesting part. It's no longer about a evil being against a good being. It's about two morally ambiguous beings and the people that respect them. And it's exactly the mirror that is going on with other characters like Pip the Troll. Basically, he's following Adam Warlock because he believes in Warlock in a way, right? He's going to the extreme, and what does Warlock do? He leaves him there. He just abandons the only friend that he has made in the whole story. Because, yeah, for Warlock, he is just a nonsense. For Pip the Troll, Warlock is a really important being on the universe. So he is gathering followers that respect him in the same way, and he's failing them in the same way that Magus manipulates his followers. He just doesn't understand that. He just don't see that until the end of this fight, when he finally admits, well, maybe I'm the bastard for them. And that's really interesting. Yep, basically that.
Okay, excellent. Well, all right. Polly, you want to stick around a little longer? Do you want to bounce now?
No, I can stay until Gomorrah.
Yes. Yes. Oh, dude, no, that's good. Please stick around if you can. No, you're
I'm
staying
just
the one
running
you
on
want.
fumes, but there's enough fumes for Gomorrah.
So that means this has been a good episode for you to stick around.
Yeah.
Then, just saying, this has been a good one. No, I've had a lot of fun doing this one. This has been a freaking awesome one. All right, well, Caster, have at it with this issue, dude.
So one of the things reading through this, I'm finding some parallels and some similarities to another character who I've been actually delving into lately.
Ooh, go on.
Allow me a moment here just to kind of steal the screen for a moment, just to show off
Steal the screen, because I will build up to something entirely while you're building up to that.
Reading through this with Warlock, I'm reminded of one of the single most popular D&D character of all time, Drizzt Do'Urden. Just with some of the kind of morality of it. He's a character who comes from a race that are just like all evil elves in a completely matriarch system. But he rejects that to kind of find his own way.
Yeah, dude, Drizzt is one of my absolute favorite. That's the only Forbidden Realms books that I've read all the way through was the Dark Elf trilogy. And I had a buddy of mine that I used to work with that has a cosplay of Drizzt. And I'm talking like dude spent like $7,000 just on like all the leather work and everything else. And he actually got to meet the author. And the author was like, that's the closest that's the best one I've ever seen. That's Drizzt.
Dude.
Other than my buddy's like 150 pounds
Dude,
overweight.
that is dedication.
Yeah, it's glorious. And every Comic-Con, that's what he wears. Every time
I can tell you, after doing cosplays with leather, god damn, it's hard. And if you want to have something really good, something that is really hard, can withstand a lot of mistreatment, you're gonna get the cheap leather that is for making shoes. The one that is really cheap, that is really stiff, that's the best one. You can put it on water a whole night. It will become soft, and then molding it, it's weeks, but it's worth it. So kudos to the guy that did that armor. That's real work. I appreciate just the effort alone.
I'll find the pictures and send them to you guys sometime. I know I've still got them somewhere.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Back to the comic. My little thing aside.
Thank you, by the way.
There's something kind of interesting with the kind of playing into this the faith in the system going on where the system is corrupt, but no matter what, we will play it through to the end. And they're even coming out and saying we will have people come up and give false testimony against you, and in the end you shall be found guilty.
Themes played out in the original Outer Limits episode sometimes too, right, Ironcaster?
Oh, I honestly haven't really delved in. I've only seen a couple episodes of Outer Limits, so it's actually something I don't know much about. But
I won't distract.
Outer Limits is so good.
Go back to the 60s stuff. It's backing up everything you're saying.
So I think I kind of remember, I think the first episode was the guy who came from the future.
No, that was not the first episode. The first episode actually was I don't want to get distracted here, so it's going to be real brief, and I'm going to shut up, and I want you to continue. Is actually a guy trying to contact
the galaxy being.
Galaxy being, other universes, etc. He contacts somebody. There's a mistake.
Cliff Robertson.
The galaxy being breaks through the glass, and it all goes horribly wrong.
As
as
always.
it always does.
Cliff Robertson, right?
Right, Cliff Robertson. Good catch, Clubby. Thank you.
Uh,
Except,
but to kind of finish up my thoughts here, uh, ultimately getting Warlock to realize that like that potential for becoming Magus is within himself. He has to kind of own and accept that. Just as he realizes he can't do wrong to Pip or any of those that choose to follow him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he just straight up ups and leaves him, man.
That was kind
And
of
it
one of
backfires.
the things that made me think to Drizzt as a comparison.
Mm-hmm.
But I also I just want to kind of mention the last panel, the cliffhanger they leave you on. Next,
Oh.
the secret of the pit, Pip to the rescue, and 1,000 clowns.
1,000 clowns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Imagine that. But while you're imagining that, well, I think we know.
We know what we
I
are
think we
imagining.
know. And that's where I'm gonna let Hungry Boy take it away.
Okay, well, I'm going to
Um,
focus. I'll focus a little bit on the art, if that's okay. 'Cause that's
dude, that's very problematic.
what? Because people can't draw these days. Well,
yes,
I,
yes,
the
it
thing,
is.
the thing is, we got so much going on with this issue artistically, which young people need to reclaim, and some young people are reclaiming. But when you look at the matriarch, it's like a combination of Greta Garbo and a lot of starlets from the 1930s, and it takes a lot of guts for Starlin to throw that in subliminally into the artwork. And then also at this point, there's a whole bunch of fascination with martial arts going on in the United States right now. So we have that beautiful picture, that beautiful panel with this massive kung fu kick of Adam kicking the bad guys who are in green and purple. And this goes back to something Clobby's been talking about for a couple of months. How, you want to know if it's a bad guy? They're wearing green and purple. You know?
Yeah,
Mhm.
that was the stereotype.
And then you got the beautiful coloring and the beautiful inking, and some moments where it's very clear that Mr. Starlin is getting a little bit influenced by Barry Windsor Smith at this point. A little bit influenced, but not ripping off. But all the pacing is so beautiful. But he will take the time to make a panel bigger or smaller, depending on the needs of the story. And you got a few little bit 1969 Steranko elements in here, but nothing to counterweight, to overbalance the natural original Starlin goodness. And this was the older people in the audience will understand. This was a comic that was worth riding on your BMX bike for an hour and a half to get. Okay.
Oh, I would have. If I lived in that timeline, I would have. I straight up would have.
And you would get
Believe
there.
that.
Clubby knows this. Clubby will remember this. And Clubby, as a retailer, probably had to be the person on the other side.
Way after this, though. A few years after this that I started working. But yeah.
Oh, I know. But as a kid, you would remember, as I did, going in.
Right.
And when you're hooked on a story and the guy just looks at you because you've been in that shop all the time, said, "It's not in yet. Come back tomorrow." You know?
Yeah.
Oh,
Not until I helped start the first comic shop. We didn't have comic shops or anything like that. So, no. But I hear you. I understand
I'm
you.
in the 7 to 11 or in the Stray of the newsagent. You know, I'd go to the bodega, the Australian version of the bodega, and they say, "Sorry, kid, you got to come back later." And then later on, you probably had to say that to people who were hooked on a comic, right?
Oh, well, yeah,
Dude.
well, yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that
certainly.
happened to me recently with a video game. I was looking for a rare video game. I even pay an advance for the guy on the store to get it. He could not get it, so I ended up with my money and frustrated. I ended up getting it second hand, so I have the game, but it was really hard to get. And the frustration on the face of the guy in the store of, Yeah, I wanted to sell it too. Yeah, god damn it. Yeah, it's sad when they tell you, no, come next week. We will have it for sure, and then you go next week and they don't have it, and it's like, yeah.
And what a teaser for Gamora in that panel that Nick was just showing. Just that little bit of her face, the green, the black, the gold. It's all saying you are in for a treat next issue, punks.
Oh, it is a good sample. It definitely is like, oh hey, here, look. If you want it as pizza analogy, here's a slice. If you really like it, you gotta come back. You gotta come back next month for the full meal deal.
Yeah.
And that's what that is you get the full meal, you get the sample here. If you like it, well, this is your opportunity to come back for more. It leaves you with enough taste to be like, oh boy, oh dude, I am all in on this. Every fiber of my being says yes. Okay, I will see you
basically,
there, sir.
basically, what you are saying is this is not a full meal, but you can see where the baby food is made.
No. Okay, I'm gonna be the kind old man here. It's like going into Baskin Robbins where they have those little tiny taste tests for the ice cream to hook you onto the ice
Did
cream.
this stream just become Toxic Tuesday now? We're in Toxic Tuesday territory, but with comic books.
Yeah, we're trading women to good ice cream and pizza. Uh-oh.
All I can say is I'm really feeling green right now.
Oh, I'm sure you
Yeah.
are. Oh, Klobby, any thoughts? I know you just been enjoying the moment. Assumingly, you're just enjoying the moment.
Well, another great issue, The Judgment. This one issue on the Planet Homeworld. We get to learn a few things. Namely, we get to learn about Troll. This is to get Pip the Troll. We're getting used to him. We're getting to know. This is really sort of our introduction to him. Really, obviously appeared in the previous issue. So we get to learn about Pip. Pip is a great character. I love Pip. He's a fun character.
I love Pip.
Yeah, gotta love Pip. He's a lot of fun. Just having him. Yeah, I know. It's interesting. How many times has this since been emulated where the hero's running around and gets the jokey, like snarky sidekick stuff? At the time, that wasn't the kind of thing you saw that much of, really. And here you go. He gets a little sidekick, but it's fun. It worked there. Because Trip is cool.
It really does. Because see, Pip doesn't, even though, Pip technically is a psychic because obviously Warlock's more powerful, but Pip feels more that he feels to me, I just see it as more like a genuine partnership between two guys who obviously have objectives, and I just see him as they were on an equal footing in a figurative sense, definitely not literal, because obviously Adam is far more capable in a literal sense, but I just saw as, hey, Pip, he knows some things that he doesn't, and they can help each other out. So I thought they were like a yin and yang balance together.
No, it was
I
good.
thought they balanced each other out.
They're very, very, very different, and that's one of the fun things about it. And
Pip feels adult. That's the thing. Normally, a sidekick will be more childish. Yeah, it will be annoying and such. Let's say Donkey from Shrek, right? That's maybe the basics of this relationship. But Pip is a guy that is drinking, he's smoking, he's saying things straight. So it's really different. It's not just a jokey character. It's a character that is really straight, but he says things so straight that becomes comical.
Yeah, and Pip, when he smokes, he's smoking Jack Kirby's cigar. Come on.
Yes.
Yes. He's showing that he's a true man's man, smoking the cigar and drinking the brandy.
A good sidekick should be there to sort of to juxtapose and offset some of the other qualities that the main hero doesn't have. Adam Warlock is kind of in a way this almost biblical like figure, religious figure, and Pip the Troll is this character who juxtaposes him by being very much into his vices. He's constantly smoking. He drinks. He's this short, squabby little man. Whereas Adam Warlock is this big, giant, like magnificent man.
You know what I just thought of, Caster? This is basically Twins, but an action movie. Warlock is Schwarzenegger, and Pip the Troll is Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
straight up.
Yeah.
This is twins, but for comic books in action. Seriously, this is twins.
So
There you
really
go.
good.
And I just want to add one more point for Klobby. One more point, then I'm going to shut up about this issue. Is when we get that beautiful splash page with the bailiffs and Adam Warlock saying, "What is this?" And you look at all these trippy elements and all these trippy characters. It is like Starlin asked himself, "Can I tribute Steve Ditko, but like do it on acid, on LSD?"
Well, we'll get there.
I mean, the page that we're already looking on here, with the thing that's just two eyes and a mouth sitting
Right.
there, and these faceless creatures watching over everybody, and this one thing that's just an eye sitting on the pedestal. It's kind of like the Doctor Strange issue that no one was prepared for in the early '60s.
Well, again, we'll get there soon too. So there's a lot to say about that, about the Ditko thing, the influence, and this is just, man, again, another unbelievably well drawn piece of work. The trial of Adam Warlock bit that we get to is basically the prisoner. There's so much prisoner influence in this comic. I know Jim Starlin must have been a fan. There's no way he was not. There's no way he did not watch in fact, some of this is directly out of Fallout, the great last episode of The Prisoner.
Really?
Yeah, this is good. Yeah, good God, yes. Well, this is one of the greatest show ever made. The Prisoner's the greatest TV show ever. And yes, so much of all the stuff throughout the courtroom scene and the judge scene and stuff is, I have absolutely not one shred of doubt that it is heavily prisoner influenced, let's say.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic point, Bob.
And beautifully done.
Awesome. Well, I guess, we'll have our last issue as we transition over, but as we close out 180, go ahead, Pablo. Take it away.
Before that, I will go to sleep because I'm actually
okay.
Night,
Pablo, thank you for being
I can
here,
relate
dude.
to that, brother.
Thank you for being here, guys. If you're in the chat and you're somehow not subbed, Pablo will do his plugs. But I just want to say, for his accessible links, I have in the description his Geek Tropology channel and Midnight's Edge Espanol, both tagged there. Go ahead and plug away, Pablo.
What can I say? I love this channel. I love being here every Friday talking about the crazy good comics that we had. And well, I have not much to plug. There's a couple of Star Wars videos coming out on Minasech, one on the main Minasech channel. One of them is already out. Those are the reasons why I haven't slept. So have fun with that. It's a lot of craziness after a few hours without sleep. So if there's craziness on the video, you know how to blame and why. Yeah, but anyway, it has been really fun. I will leave you with the clown show that is ahead and all the titillation with Gomorrah. Goodbye.
Pablo,
Peace, bro.
thank you very much, sir. Have a great night. Be seeing you soon, buddy. All right.
See you.
Well, guys, we got a great page that leads us over as we see what happens when Adam makes his escape from Krator, only for it to backfire. And, well, he's going down the hole, quite literally. But another fantastic issue, a great continuation of what's going on. And once again, another issue where a lot happens, a lot of characters are introduced. You not only get introduced to Gamora, but you understand why she's important to what is going on and what her role is in all of this. So, yeah, great introduction, great, once again, exposition, world building, and lots of great things happening action-wise. Stunning art. And I guess that's all I can leave at that. Klobby, your final thoughts on this issue?
Oh, just great. I mean, absolutely marvelous continuation of the story that does just an incredible job of advancing us. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. It's just what can I tell you? Great job of getting this thing. I would not want to have to wait 2 months. Back then, I was 10 years old when this comic came out. So chances are I probably wasn't even getting to my racks down and way down here where we live. But if it did, I'll be honest with you, I was probably picking a superhero comic, or I was picking a Superman or a Batman or a Spider-Man or an FF,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's great stuff.
All right. Caster.
I mean, I think it's an interesting issue, what we're delving into with this. Sort of getting into and understanding the psyche of Adam Warlock. And I think ultimately this is kind of a bigger message about, Jim Starlin. Adam Warlock sees these people, these members of the Universal Church of Truth as clowns.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of reflective of Jim's own opinions about organized religion.
I agree.
Hence why he's having the hero view these church attendees, we'll say, as in that light.
Okay.
And also just like I really like I like the way he depicts the clowns.
I agree. Hard agree. I do too. 1,000 clowns. The secret of the pit. Pip to the rescue and 1,000 clowns.
Oh, did I jump ahead?
That's terrifying. No, it says it right there at the end of the panel.
No, I mean, like, I was starting to get into the actual issue itself, so I think I jumped the gun a bit.
Oh no, we're gonna transition. We're gonna transition over, and
Gotcha.
before we do, we have a hungry boy that needs to talk about his final thoughts on Strange Tales number 180.
Okay, I'll do an encapsulating comment. This is the anti-Tumblr comic for the ages. And,
Oh yeah,
Isn't all good art anti-Tumblr?
well,
All good art doesn't have gay stuff.
It's more than that, man, because this is something that makes you question your own beliefs and question your own idea of what your beliefs should mean to you, where you are almost, as the reader, becoming the people putting Warlock on trial. It's like you're putting yourself on trial as you read this, and the art is matching up to it, and the pacing is matching up to it. And Claudia already said the wonderful points about the prisoner and all the other things that lead up to it. And I don't want to. We got a lot to cover in the next issue, so I'm just going to leave it at that and say thank you, Claudia, for those wonderful points. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, guys, are you ready for Strange Tales number 181? The portion of this that close out the Strange Tales portion.
Oh yeah, except for the no Graminks. Yes, we are.
All right, let's go. Oh man,
Yeah.
Oh, dude, look at that! Is okay. I will be the first to say I'm not one of those guys who's ever gets terrified clowns. I still think even the It clown is laughable at best. I feel like that is a more terrifying clown than most clowns. If I had to say one ever looked terrifying, that's probably the closest thing to it for me personally. So what a terrifying cover. Not just brilliantly drawn, but a terrifying cover.
I have a note about the opening.
Go for it.
Point of order, Chairman. I always like to have a note about the opening credits if you don't mind.
Take it away, Klobby. You know I'll never mind.
Just the splash page, of course, 100 clowns. Now, here we have, before we get to the credits, it says this story is dedicated to Steve Ditko, who gave us all a different reality. Let me tell you what's important about that. Obviously, this is 1975. Steve Ditko's long since not passed away. He's been around. He's at Atlas Seaboard right now, not at Marvel. Now, they don't like him at Marvel, the people who uppity and all that kind of stuff. So it's not like he's passed away or they were paying tribute or anything like that. Of course, when we get to see this more, we see how heavily Ditko influenced it really is. Spoiler alert! But it's interesting to me that they let and Lin Wein was the editor, but even he couldn't get away with it. Somebody up top had stopped him. They let him do this. They let him have a little, just admit flat out that he's paying tribute to Steve Ditko. You could just do it and say, people say, hey, wow, you're doing Ditko. He just admits it on the first page, Starlin, which I mean, I think that's very respectful, very nice of him. Him getting away with it at Marvel at that point. If you know anything about Marvel history and the tension between Ditko and those people, it's pretty incredible to me. So I just thought I would point that out. And we have basically again this question of Starlin doing the writing and the penciling and the coloring, but Al Milgram now on the inking, who would go on to ink a lot of Starlin as well, just a saying. So there we go. We got all the credits taken care of there.
Can we look at the credit to the right? I think that's the one.
Insanity.
Jim Starlin, Insanity.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of sums a lot up and then some, if you think about it. Insanity. Because it absolutely is. Even with this page right off the bat, dude, this is I could see why he would say it's a Steve Ditko, because I could see a lot of the Doctor Strange
all over this thing.
Yeah, Steve Ditko, Doctor Strange. All this page is like this page here is absolute shameless tribute, and it's wonderful to look at.
And it should be noted that Strange Tales is where Steve Ditko got started on Doctor Strange, so it's kind of
it is. Yes, it is. That's right. Yeah. No, it is very famous. Starlin not only did a tribute, but one that, well, the glove fitted, absolutely fitted, and it was a very snug fit. And once again, freaking dazzling treat. But I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to let Hungry Boy go for it.
Uh-oh.
Sorry,
no, it's okay.
I had to type a pseudo compliment to Clawby in the chat there with the Ditko stuff. He said it all, and with that, just like he did with the prisoner stuff. Now, this one, the thing is, I may not wax so enthusiastic about this issue because Clawby knows I am notorious for being hard on inking, and I get really pissy over that. Right? I get really pissy over that. So I'm a Terry Austin guy. I'm a Jim Starlin inking himself guy. I'm a Cockrum guy inking his own self. Even Neil Adams, you know, I prefer Neil inking Neil. And a lot of times when you switch over, I understand we are now facing deadline issues. I get that.
Deadline stuff, yeah.
And I understand that Milgram never broke a deadline. He's on record for that. He never broke a deadline. True. But the situation is this issue had built its reputation for us young kids at this point on finesse, particularly with the inking. And Al Weiss, even when he did some stuff, he was a finesse inker. The situation is with inking, it is like, say you have a great song and a great singer, the inking is the recording system with which you record that. So if you got a bad recording system, bad inking, it doesn't help the pencils. It will actually bring good pencils down. And even though there's a deadline, I can't enjoy this issue as much as the previous one because the inking is just not the same as Starlin inking himself. That being said, the layout is all there, the storytelling is all there, and even before we get to the super, super, super sexy Gamora, she's using body language and facial expressions thanks to Mr. Starlin's pencils here in a way that, I will close off with saying this, helped some of us enter puberty a bit early.
Nice.
So your spider senses were tingling at a younger age.
Oh no, the whole body was trembling, dude.
Bunch of hair and sensations in weird places. Yeah, we've all been there.
The whole it puts hair on your chest. It happened. The process definitely got sped up.
Voice got a little deeper.
Before we go on, Fenrir has to bounce. Fenrir, go ahead and bounce, and we will.
Yeah, guys, I'm sorry. I got late, but I at least made it about an hour and 40 minutes, and that's good enough. But I am very, very, very tired. I haven't had a lot of sleep today.
You're good, man.
So following Pablo's example, I'm going to bounce out. So I'm just going to take the typical. Hungry, it was fun to finally have a stream with you. Ironcaster, become the dungeon master you are meant to be. Clawby.
Yeah, buddy.
It's always great to talk with you, buddy. Nick, thank you for always inviting me to this stuff. And Common Nerd, keep the fight going in the comedy area of this. Do not disappoint me, man.
I got you.
All right, then.
Have a
Peace
good
to you,
night.
lads.
Have a
Take
good
care,
night, brother.
Be good, man.
Have a great night.
May the
All
force
right,
be with you.
And also with you.
And welcome, John W78. If you have been here, I apologize if I don't remember you, but if you are genuinely brand new here, thank you for being here to the Comic Shop show. Caster, go ahead and here we go. Go ahead, Caster.
And here's our
Perfect timing.
clowns. Or I should say, send in the clowns.
Send in the clowns.
Oh, wow. See, and that's the funny part. My aunt was a clown when I was growing up as a kid. She's also the same one that introduced me to the movie television version of the movie It. And so, like, clowns never bugged me. Like, I grew up around clowns. Like, I never had a fear. I always thought they were great. So maybe I'm the weirdo.
It wasn't until, like, honestly, kind of recently where, like, some of the creepy clown stuff really got super prevalent that I really had a problem with it. It's
Never
like,
bothered me either.
But yeah, but I mean, that's just people being creepy, of course. But
yeah.
I think this looks great. I'm reading
But
it
yeah,
right now. I'm reading right now.
Like, I find it interesting with this issue where, like, I had kind of touched on earlier. The clowns here are as Adam Warlock views these members of the church, trying to correct him and try to control him. And it goes into the psyche of Adam Warlock, how this is how he sees those that are trying to control him. They're just clowns in this bigger circus ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
And we get a couple of funny little panels in here. Like I love the one where Adam Warlock was done up with some clown makeup.
Oh yeah, let me. Yeah.
That is a bit of a creepy face there.
That's very.
That's made to look cynical. That is
Oh.
absolutely made to look like I said, I'm not one of those guys who gets like, I don't get terrified, but I see this, I'm like, wow, okay, you actually succeeded with that. Damn.
There's something kind of off-putting about them not having like eyebrows. And I think that's it. It's because they don't have eyebrows.
Is it
Like,
amazing
one has
how
a
that
brow rim.
happens? A rim, but that ain't the actual brow itself.
Right.
Unlike this, our homeboy over here with emo cut before emo cut, and you can still see his eyebrows, emo cut and all.
Can I say something about that panel? If you look very carefully at it, that's Funky Flashman with antenna.
It does look. That is totally Funky Flashman. That is absolutely Funky Flashman. I'm surprised they got away with it. Maybe he did have a sense of humor, I guess. He wasn't there really.
That's all I really got for the moment. So
Okay. No, you're good, man. Awesome. Well, Klobby, why don't you go for it, man? I know obviously we've heard Hungry Boy make his case in Caster, but I'll let you have the perfect opportunity.
Well, it's difficult. I can't dispute Hungry Boy. I'm with him on inks, but I'll take what I can get. Also, Milgram, again, I never really cared for him as an artist of any kind, whether it was penciling or inking. I know he was serviceable and he was fast and all that stuff about the deadlines, and not as bad as Coletta or anything like that. Hungry, I'm sure you'll agree, but not very good either. I never liked much of his work at all, even on the Firestorm. To be honest, but still. I don't think he certainly is not as good as the inking on it, like that Weiss does on him, or that he's certainly what Starlin does himself and other inkers have done. That said, it doesn't destroy the comic for me either. And the Ditko influences are definitely all over it, but you can certainly see a drop in quality in the art. Absolutely see. And even the panel arrangement actually is not as good as the previous issue. But the story, however, the insanity that we're seeing in this issue throughout it, and the story again, almost another episode that's very Prisoner-esque in terms of the wackiness of what they're putting him through. It's almost like he's in the village. There are a couple of shots of the woman, by the way. She almost looks like Princess Leia. What's up with that? But overall, still a quality issue because Gamora. Woo. Yeah, Gamora. Oh, and Gamora, by the way, did I mention Gamora?
when the
I'm
title
just
"The
one.
Deadliest Woman in the Galaxy" actually had meaning and substance, and
Right.
you actually valued that title, it just didn't feel like a title because strong women. It actually like you really believe that shit.
Well, here, Nick,
Yes.
she backed it up without needing a title.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
this whole thing proves Gamora is deadly. It's like, yeah, you can be attracted to her, but don't turn your back on her in the room if cutlery is there.
Oh yeah, you're fucked. Straight up.
To make a pencil disappear.
Like full stop. You're fucked.
Yeah.
And she will live up to that. And you can't put it past her. You cannot. You do, well, that sucks to suck. Straight up. Straight
Yeah.
up. That's a full stop there, man.
Look at that Ditko helmet on Adam. Look at that.
Dude.
That's a Ditko helmet.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I love
There's he still does a great job of conveying the Ditko of which he promises at the beginning of the comic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ditkoisms on
Yes.
roids with this one. And it
Well,
is. And that's
Ditkoness.
good because it isn't just the first page where it reeks of it, Doctor Strange style, but it's sprinkled like a birthday cake sprinkles throughout this issue. You definitely feel the you get all the sprinkles everywhere. It's a wonderful sight to behold. It's fun because I've talked to many of my comic friends over the years, especially, and they'll tell me like, it took them a little extra time to warm up the Steve Ditko style. I don't know what it was. And I don't know if it was just me, but I got into it right away. I guess I'm a weird anomaly, but I know a lot of people who are really.
No, I think I can tell you why.
Why.
Well, okay, this is anecdotal, but
Okay.
when I first started seeing Ditko, I started seeing some of his stuff because he was, throughout the chunk of the 70s. After he left Atlas Seaboard, he went to DC and he did some books that I really didn't look at that much, like Shade the Changing Man. He did some other stuff, but when I started seeing his late 70s, early 80s stuff, it wasn't anywhere close to his 60s. And his art was not the same. And I started seeing some stuff that really didn't. They were putting him on books like Rom. They did a Fantastic Four annual. He did a lot of other comics I just didn't think really suited his kind of a style. And so I was like, man, this guy, I didn't like him at all. And I didn't know anything about him as comic history wise when I was seeing him as a kid. Later, when I started realizing, about how so many people respected and loved him, and I started giving it another look, I started going back and looking at his older stuff, his early Spider-Man stuff, and of course his Doctor Strange stuff. I had to acquire a taste and an understanding for Ditko's older stuff. That was the case with some of the artists that I would first seeing as a kid. My first sight is not their best stuff. Now, some guys were consistent all the way through, and other guys, here I am like 12, 13 years old, whatever the case may be, 9, 10, 12, seeing the art of 60 to 70-year-old men who obviously can't draw the same way they did 10, 20, 30, 40 years earlier. So I'm judging them on that, not knowing it. Now I know better. And I'm sorry, Ditko's brilliant work on Spider-Man and Doctor Strange and things like that of the 60s far surpasses his Rom and his, you name any of his 80s or late 70s and early 80s stuff. It's like Don Heck was no prince ever, but his stuff in the 60s was better than his stuff in his late 70s. Carmen Infantino did fine work in the 60s, 50s, and 60s, and then in the late 70s when he needed a job, I don't really like his work that much, and I hated it as a kid. So what's going on? Some artists they can't draw the same when they get older.
No, that's true. I mean, I'm 50.
No, and that's true.
We see
that's
that with
true.
musicians.
And and I think it has something to do with when I had that ASM #1 reprint. That was my very first comic book style of Spider-Man. So I saw that stuff before I saw John Romita Jr. I saw it before I saw, I don't know, Todd McFarlane or Mike Bagley or anyone else, Ross Andrew. I saw it before. So maybe for me it was easier to adjust because of that. And that was how I got into, obviously, I actually had to adjust later on to Kirby because I got used to the Fantastic Four because of that issue, because of Ditko. And then I'm like, oh, hold up. Kirby's a different style. That's when my mind started like understanding and adjusting in my head. even though I adjusted Kirby really quickly because of his visuals, that helped.
Yeah.
But I got really acquainted and comfortable with what I saw from Ditko. That it kind of like I'm like I gotta remember not every guy's like this, and I've learned later on that was more true than I realized then.
That didn't happen to me with Kirby, by the way. It's not every artist.
I know. I know it didn't happen with you and Kirby.
But it did happen with Ditko, it happened with me, and it's not proud of it. I'm just saying. And of course, I love him now and adore his work and his question stuff, things like that. But when I could still look at some of that later stuff and go, I don't know, man. Some of it.
I got your back, Clobby. 100%. Exact same. Exact.
And I hate to say it,
But the thing is, you have to get over to appreciate the difficulty in storytelling and doing a 6-panel grid layout and how much story you can do in that. When as you're a kid, you're looking at the flash and razzle a little bit, aren't you, Clobby?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's what we're looking at.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we got some razzle here. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. My puberty came 2 years early.
It all makes sense now. Life is now coming around full circle. It all makes sense. I like to believe everything happens for a reason. This is why Hungry Boy's process in life of development sped up. It all makes sense now. There's no big conspiracy. It happened, and he accepted it. He welcomed it clearly, and it shows, figuratively shows. And it's all downhill ever since then.
You look at the way Steranko drew women. You look at the way Gil Kane drew women. You look at the way Cockrum drew women. And I'm sitting there going, there might be a pattern here.
Oh yeah. No, this is all just a big coincidence. Totally, just.
Oh. Toxic Tuesdays for comic books, folks.
Yeah, right. This is basically. Oh, dude. Now this is a monster.
Wow.
Caster, you gotta love seeing that. Caster, you take it away, man. I know obviously for you the sightseeing is the monsters. Dude. Look at even this page, I feel like is even though like Starlin loves the color presentation visual style, I do feel like he definitely I love the way he emphasizes on green and then purple for two like whole panels. Like I love that look and it fits. You wouldn't think purple would fit this, but it damn sure does. And it still looks fucking badass. It really looks fucking badass. But anyways, shutting up now. Oh, Caster's gone. All right, well, I'll let Clobby have it with some of the more pages of this issue.
Well, where are we at now? We're still getting toward the end of it here.
We're getting to the finish line, my friend.
I'm looking at that page right
basically.
now. Yep, when he's fighting the Madness monster, which is basically his dark side, pretty much.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he went to Dagobah and walked down into a little hole and fought himself or anything like that, or something that was ripped on Doctor Who when they had him basically fight himself. No, he's nothing metaphysical about this issue at all. It's really pretty much is the Madness monster is himself. He figures it out. This is just I don't know, man, just brilliant stuff. Love it.
Okay.
And and Gamora. I can't thank straight for Gamora's there.
Go ahead, Caster. Take it away.
So I just need a moment to appreciate this.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yep.
Oh, that makes sense. He knew what was coming and had to coming. And then had to come back. No, I walked into my own joke with that one.
So what you're trying to say is he's gonna come to the show.
Oh, he's gonna come.
So, as the book's kind of wrapping up here, we're finally getting a build up and payoff. We've been kind of hinted and suggest we talked about the Magus for the past like 3 issues before this, but we haven't really gotten a proper introduction to him. And it's kind of in the end of this book is where we're finally getting the cliffhanger of finally being introduced to him, as that is ultimately where our final page is, getting this reveal beyond just like a vague head
It ain't just the head, dude. It's the perm. You don't disinclude the perm. Come on.
You're right.
dude.
You're right. I mean, earlier
Perm.
in one of the earlier issues, we had a moment. The big revelation of Magus going, I am you, and then Adam Warlock instinctively looks up at his hair and says, "Oh God, my hair."
Hey, the Magus had to look in the mirror to make sure he looked good for Adam, even if he is his future self, because the age thing, with the wrinkles, he had to make sure that he still looked good. Gives Adam some hope that even though like you hate me, at least you'll know you'll still look good many years from now. That's all. It was all about the perm and being crazy, and the crazy was secondary, but the perm was first. I mean, look how much thought was put into the perm. The damn perm. I swear. Who mentioned Culture Casino? Shout out to Culture Casino. Oh, man. Weave and all.
Best
Oh,
weave on the
man.
internet.
And there he is.
Dude.
Right out.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Dude.
Wow.
It
bit of
feels heavy. Like a dun, dun, dun type of page.
Can I back up Caster here and make an in joke for Clobby?
Go ahead.
Okay, so go back to that panel where we're seeing the face shot, just the face shot of the Magus where it's all green, etc. That is like the supreme intelligence from the Kree at the disco.
He does look like Supreme War.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It
I
was
like
the 70s.
Good one.
Oh, that's freaking funny. That's
I mean,
freaking funny. But go ahead.
I like the posing of him just on this big throne.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, it just looks like he's grape flavored Adam Warlock.
Great, dude. He is grape flavored Adam Warlock. And you know what? I'm here for it. Because you know what? I love grape Kool-Aid. And you want to talk about taking my grape Kool-Aid and making him look intimidating and knowing that he's capable of shit in future tense? Ah, shit. My grape Kool-Aid's gonna kill me, is how I saw it. Kool-Aid. I thought you're supposed to love.
Adam Warlock is upset because Adam Warlock is so upset because I am a strawberry guy. I do not do grape.
Tears in my eyes, you bitch.
Good. Our job has succeeded. Well, so then, okay, so overall reveal and all, then how do you feel about this one with the reveal of the grape and all?
Grape lock.
This is Toxic Tuesday, but for comics. This is where it's got come to now. Worth it. Absolutely worth it.
100%.
Caster's still formulating songs. I don't blame him. This took a turn tonight.
Freaking a beautiful turn. A wonderful turn.
I mean,
Some would even say a huge turn.
Huge.
It does feel a little anticlimactic just because how goofy he does look getting him here.
70s.
Yeah.
Soul Train Magus.
Soul brother Magus.
Soul Train.
I love
Also,
it.
like, so the one issue I have, among many, is that just because of these two, Warlock and Magus, it throws me off because oftentimes I'll be trying to look up information about the other Warlock or the other Magus from the X-Men books. And these two are just so dominant, so in there that it's like I can't look up anything involving those characters unless I specify.
Good point.
Good point.
Okay. Cool. Excellent, Caster. Excellent. Clobby, your final thoughts, reveal, grape Kool-Aid and all.
Well, overall, an excellent loving tribute to Steve Ditko. Glad they did something like that. Great issue all the way, except again the art unfortunately takes a bit of a ding with the Milgram inks. I tend to agree, but other than that, still fine story, great comic, and we got just a great run ahead of us.
Yes, agreed. Strongly agreed. Hungry Boy.
Well, again, I mean, Clubby is 100% correct, and he always is. That's not a suck up. That's just a fact because he bothers to take the time to know what he's talking about. But the thing is, yes, the art took a dive, but we could get past that because
that's great
the story being told, and the way it was being told. And sometimes layout can compensate for the inks. And we can get past that. Sometimes it's like listening to, okay, this will be my final thought. It will be a musical metaphor. More Than a Feeling is one of the best songs ever created by Boston. And sometimes you're listening to it on a tiny handheld transistor radio with damaged speakers. It's still a great song.
Good.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. Excellently worded,
well
dude.
Done.
Seriously. Yeah. And I'm wow. Man, I can't top that. No, for me, it's the next great issue that pushes the story forward. You really understand how intimidating Grape Kool-Aid can look, even with a perm. I'm still like, dude, he feels like he's got that dun 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 moment to it all. And yeah, once again, it is still a dazzling treat on my end because of the Ditkoisms that are sprinkled across this page, and of course, being an action fan, more action. I love to see the action, and the way the story is paced, the way it's told via dialogue, I'm in love with this, and having this reread of this has been a joy, an absolute joy. And well, I guess that's the part where I have to say that is it for Strange Tales number 181. And for those 20 of you in the chat, Jesus, we had just as many now as we did early on. Thank you guys for being here for the 94th episode. Next week, obviously, is part 2 of our story. We will be talking Warlock, specifically named Warlock, issues 9 through 12 next week for our saga. So if any of you want to have a whole week to jump in and get yourself refamiliarized or familiarized for the first time, we did Strange Tales 178 through 181, and then after that's Warlock 9 through 12. So if you want to join in, if not, if you're good with us just telling the story and going over it, that's cool too. But that is what we're talking about next week. And it's going to be, go ahead.
I think we should just show off the cover for that one. It's one of those iconic covers. So,
dude,
yeah, look out for
this
one,
folks. Incredible. I love this cover. And obviously, it was a cover that became part of the infamous trade paperback that we all came to know and love. And yeah, you put on anything now, and it's still wonderful. Except my hardcover has from the Strange Tales, but still, either way, you still got great covers across the board. And that's the thing. A cover is supposed to pull you in, and both of them do that. Both of them absolutely freaking do that. So, yeah, that is what's coming next week. Casper, thank you for sharing this. And chat, thank you for being here. And hopefully, for those who are already familiar, hopefully you got to relive some glory days. And for those who are now familiar for the first time, hopefully this will say, hey, that was fun listening to, or hey, I gotta look into some more of this story. This sounds pretty damn cool. So I thank you all for being here. And of course, shout out to Pablo and the Fenrir for being here earlier. Guys, it's that time of the night where it's time to go home and wrap things up. And I'm going to let everything be led off with the Common Nerd.
Whoa.
What do you got coming out in the next few days?
Okay, so I was in the process of reading all of these comics while we were watching this, and I made it all the way to the Judgment. But anyway, yeah. So my wife and I went and saw Nefarious tonight. So I literally just dropped a spoiler-free review for that. So go check that out after we close out over here, and go check that out because it's a really, really good movie. I think you're gonna like it, and I think my spoiler-free review, I think you guys are gonna really enjoy. And then my wife will actually be joining me for another spoiler review. Next week. I had one of the actors / stuntmen, John Cann, who's been in the industry for almost 40 years in Hollywood and in and out, all that kind of stuff. I had him on last Wednesday. I've got another guy from the movie Nefarious, one of the second directors, and I know as well as another one of the actors, is going to be on our show next Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on my channel. So definitely come check that out. I do all kinds of videos. I've got a whole crap ton of stuff out right now. I've got a whole bunch of stuff I got to edit and upload for the rest of the weekend. I just crossed 2,300 subscribers. I think we're at like 23 and 25 now or something like that. So yeah, dope. We're trucking right along, growing. So I thank you all so very much out there for all of you guys that have already subscribed to my channel. Thank you very much. If you haven't, come check me out. I bring you pop culture and nerd news through a common sense lens. So thanks for having me, Nick. This was absolutely wonderful. Sorry I didn't get a chance to completely finish the comic, but this art was absolutely incredible, and I'm having a great time going through and reading this on the screen right now as we talk. So thanks for having me, guys, and come check me out.
Oh, you're welcome. So, guys, I apologize in advance. My computer Brave browser is not responding, so I'm going to. I think it's back now. Okay. Oh, good.
I was at the worst thing that would happen is if you refresh.
At you.
What's wrong with that? I mean, come on, look at me. Would you complain? I mean, seriously, look at this. Got a cool shirt on, got some cool toys in the background.
You do.
Like,
but people want to see the Iron Caster.
Well, yeah, that's a beautiful man. Look at that hair. Did you get a haircut, by the way, Iron?
Caster.
About a couple weeks ago we did.
Okay, I noticed.
Thank you.
Looks good.
I'll do it just for the
damn
fans.
hippie.
So tomorrow I'll be over on the T-shirt historians for the Week in Geek, where hopefully we won't be having to deal with any more Wizards of the Coast nonsense for a week at least. That's a general chat where we get together. We mostly talk about tabletop RPGs, so there's a lot to discuss there with people from all over. People who've been playing for years. Some people who go make their own stuff. It's generally speaking a pretty fun little stream. Tomorrow night, I think I'll be on with Snowdub for the Cotton Council.
Ooh, nice.
And guys, a little bit of a spoiler, but I think I have a little bit of a movie star with me here today.
Oh
yeah, hell yeah!
All right, you can.
Are you going to join the Cotton Council now? Is that going to be your puppet?
Oh, this is Shiitake. He's been on there a few times.
Oh, I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
What?
Love it.
Well, I told them. Okay, I told them. Go.
Good job.
Oh, I love that caster.
And then Tuesday I'll be on with Pops and Still Loki for Talk Hard, where we are delving into They Live.
Nice, greatness.
Fantastic movie. Caster, it's been a pleasure. You have a great weekend. We'll be in touch as always. Thank you for your thumbnail work. I appreciate it. And as always, I will see you soon. Clobby.
Hey. Well, thanks for having me, buddy. Had a great time hanging out with everybody. I'm just so happy we got our buddy Hangler Boy here with us tonight. That was just great for us. Great fun hanging out with you, buddy. And Nick, thank you so much. And everyone else on the panel and fantastic people in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. Tomorrow night, Saturday night, Star Trek. 4 more episodes of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, reviewed by myself and my wonderful first officer, Commander R.M. Raquel Briggs. And let's see, Sunday night I'll be hanging out at the Geekery with the great Mark D with a C on his channel, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And actually, I'm going to be on my good buddy J-Man's channel, 6 p.m. Central, or I think 6 Central, for a special show on his channel reviewing Adventure Comics number 247, the first appearance of the Legion of, 247, the first appearance of the Legion of Superheroes. We're going to start reviewing Legion comics over there, and then of course my usual shows all next week. It's the usual Monday night comics and Wednesday nights, Thursday nights, all that Clubhouse, all that stuff. So thanks for having me, Nick, and I'll see you over there. I'm sure at the Midnight's Edge and other things, buddy. But appreciate it.
Oh yeah. No, I will definitely be back on the full grind again with Midnight's Edge, sir. So have fun on Saturday Night Track and have a great weekend. And I will, of course, see you in a few days, my friend. And of course, last but certainly not least, well, second to last, but certainly not least, it was a pleasure to have you on, Hungry Boy. And whether you can or can't come back next week, doesn't even matter. All I know is you are absolutely welcome back on here whenever you want to come on. You just say the word, dude. I had so much fun hanging out with you, and it seems like everyone on the panel is pretty much on board with how much fun you were to be with. And all I'm just saying is I'm leaving the door open for you. So if you want to walk right in, grab yourself a drink and join the club, you just yell at me. I'm like, okay, I'll keep the door unlocked.
I will always be here, and I will make sure to have pizza or lasagna or cheeseburgers. And let me just say that what a joy and a pleasure and a privilege to be on this panel, this topic today, because I have been trying to espouse the merits of this particular comics run for over 35 years, a third of a century. And the more people that know about it, it's great, because there's a phrase that comes in movies and television and also comics, which is cult favorite. And this is a cult favorite.
Spot on, my friend. Spot on. No, dude.
Best
Yeah,
hosts
it's
I've
been a
ever met.
pleasure. I can see why you have said all the things you said. It's funny because all that hype that built into me, and yet it's still loved up to it. I'm still like in awe that it happened, and I'm having so much of a joy rereading it, and I'm going to continue having fun doing just that. And until then, my friend, I will, of course, not only do you have a great weekend, but I will see you eventually someday on here. But I will see you in as many chats, and of course,
Very soon.
in the cesspool of Twitter as well. Until then, sir, it's been real, it's been huge, and it's been fantastic. You have
Can
a
I give
great
you a
night.
compliment before we go? Can I give you a compliment before we go?
Of course.
Okay. As a stream host, Nick is wonderful because, like, Nick at 13 hours before this stream came on said, "Hey, guy, going to be on in 13 hours and 20 minutes." That gives me a time frame. Okay, hour and 20 minutes before we go on. "Hey, guy, going to be on in an hour and 20 minutes." This lets me get my coffee and be ready to be a good guest. Okay, so Nick knows how to be a good host on a stream.
Oh, thank you. I try. I mean, for once again, when I have a guest on there, I try to make sure that the guest definitely gets to have that spotlight. And tonight, you were absolutely worth the spotlight and then some. So I
Cheers,
guess
bro.
the bromance works both ways.
It does. It does. All right, I'm out. Sign off.
All right. Well, chat. As I said, we'll be back next week talking Warlock number 9 through 12. And for those who catch Toxic Tuesday, which I know is a lot of you, which the majority of you still here, thank you, by the way, for sticking around. Thank you for Jason Sandberg for the super chat earlier. Reservoir Dogs, this coming Tuesday. It's going to be a blast. It's going to be huge. Of course, you can find me on Midnight's Edge After Dark. I'll be back with Comics Division next week as well, as I took the week off from that, and I took the week off as well from videos because I was back doing a few videos, but I'm going to resume it again. Probably be on the new Overkill album. Probably will be. Just saying. Album 20 from Overkill. So that said, guys, we got to get on out of here, and this is not just goodbye, but this is a good fight. And lastly, but not leastly, good night, all. The bar's late. We're go home. I got to finish the last of this class. Good night.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.